welcome to Vibe Realty's podcast, The Drop Zone. Thank you, ladies, for dropping in. So I'll let them introduce themselves, and we'll get started here.
Hi, I'm Susan Creeden, and I'm an associate broker with Vibe Realty.
I'm Felicia Lormand. I'm also a realtor with Vibe Realty, and I don't know what else to say right now, but I guess we'll get to it.
Yeah, we'll dive into it. It's not, just have fun with it.
Yeah.
So, well, thank you, ladies, for coming, and cheers.
Cheers.
Yes.
So, I always do these. We were talking about how you do these, and so really, it's just I like them to chat, to get to know who you are. I sort of like the mastermind. I love things that are organic. Y'all know how I'm not a big fan of social media because I think a lot of it is so polished and it's not genuine. And I think most people are that way. And like you were talking about Theo Vaughn, I think he's such a genuine person. That's why he's so great. He's funny and everything. But it's just genuine. Like, he's like a dude. Don't you feel like you could just go have a conversation? Do you know who he is?
No, I don't.
Oh, my God.
But I guess I will.
Well, you can have delicate sensibilities, but if you can be tough on hearing language and a lot of maybe other inappropriate things.
I have a house full of guys.
Yeah,
yes,
you'll love
can.
it.
But he's a funny guy. He's so normal and down to earth and kind of goofy, and he's funny. He's a comedian and stuff. So, or like Joe Rogan, and it's just people like authentic stuff. So, doing these, I was kind of like y'all. I was nervous about how do I do these things, right? Because I need to do this and I need to learn this. And I watched this and I was watching them and I was like, you know what? What I want this to be is I want people to get to know y'all like I know y'all.
Yeah.
I know y'all as people. Y'all are wonderful people, and I don't want it to be something I always thought, because I hate is glamour shots. Y'all remember the old glamour shots?
Yes, yeah.
Oh, my God. Every realtor had glamour shots in the 80s and 90s and going into the 2000s. Right. And I'm like, so, and I will take pictures with a blazer on or whatever, and a nice dressed up kind of picture. There's nothing wrong with that. But the glamour shots were arch your back and duck lips, you know what I mean? It's like,
and the boas and the leopards
and the lighting.
It's just so
and
much pretense,
you never look like that,
Right.
And it's like, why do we want to do stuff that's so fake like that? And I'm like, yeah. So, like, doing this, I was like, okay. And we did videos with these guys, and me and Bobby. I'm sure y'all saw the videos. Oh, that was tough because we were doing videos. We're like, hi, I am Andrew Riley.
Yeah.
You're like a robot, and then so we drank and got loosened up, and then we're
You're
just
like,
cutting up.
this is the ticket.
Yeah. You know what's funny is most of every guest that comes in wants to have a whiskey. And and they're like, yeah, I just want to knock and then you get going, you're like, oh, right on, this is pretty cool.
It's fun,
it's just like we're sitting around.
Once you can relax.
Yeah, relax and have a conversation, and people get to know you, and I think that translates for your marketing. You put it out there and they go, okay, I know who Felicia is and Susan is. They're regular good people, man. I would like to work with her. Yes. I don't know if the metrics are on those kinds of things. They're real hard to put
hard to quantify. But
it's hard to quantify it, but I think.
But from your own experience, or I do, the more I feel like I know someone, even if it's through social, the more likely I would be to call them for
100%,
service.
100%. Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think Zig Ziglar said it. You buy from people you like. And so that's what these kind of artists get to know people. And I say, if they don't like me or you or whatever, good, then you don't want to work with them.
Right.
That vets that. You know what I mean?
Not the right fit. Yep.
It's not the right fit. There's somebody else that they'll like. And that's good because we've all had people we work with and it was just a nightmare. Wouldn't it be good not to work with them and have them work with somebody else that they click with, and you can work with somebody you do? So there's an opportunity cost there, so I love this. And I don't sugarcoat it. I'll cuss, I'll do whatever, because it's who I am.
Yeah. I
was just on I do custom builds. That's my main thing. So I was just on a house I'm building, and the guy and his son came up, and we're talking and cutting up, and, I'm talking to the son, and he's a sophomore, and, and I cuss and do things like that. And it's like, well, it's who I am, and I hug them. They're clients on big builds. I don't care. I am who I am. I'm leaning into the love side. I want to be. It needs to be good. There's challenges in lives, but I am who I am. Don't like me, no problem. Cool. but if you do, then yeah, let's work together, or hang out, or be friends through it. That one life, like I talk about in the masterminds. This is just who I am. Work, no, not work. I don't care.
Well, you should be that way.
Well, I think it makes life easier because, something at 55, how I was. Marty Devine has a great story too. How he used to always wear just a suit and tie when he started out. He's been doing this for 30 some years. And, we were all raised that way. We're all old enough to know that when you start out, like, hey, what do? You wear a suit or a dress, and you do pantyhose and all this. I know Bradley was a paralegal, and pantyhose and the suit, the dress suit kind of stuff. And she's like, I hate it. And I'm like, why do y'all do that? And the guys were suit and ties at these law firms and stuff. And, everybody. And I'm like, man, that just doesn't make sense. Nobody likes that. And it's like, well, you want to look professional. And I'm like, but that's not who you are.
Right.
It's a little disingenuous. That's why I like, hey, let's have a drink and just talk. And this is who I am. And if you like it. And so far, you know what? I've had plenty of business,
Yeah.
I think I get more business the way I am now as opposed to being this buttoned up guy,
Well, I remember, I was probably 20. I mean, just fresh out of school and going to interview for one of my first real jobs. And somewhere around that time, I had gotten a second hole put in my ear, and I remember my sister being so concerned for me.
Yeah.
Going to job interviews.
My God.
With,
Felicia, you floozy. You've got two piercings.
She's like, you just have to be careful about what people think. I mean, I know who you are, but if they don't know you, they may think... And now
people got face tattoos and
like
piercings all over.
One of the investors that I have yet to do a transaction with, but I want to do something with him, and we've met for coffee and talked a couple of times. Chaotic Realty, have you seen him? He spells it with a K. He's a flipper. Okay?
Oh, I've seen Chaotic Customs.
But
is he the Chaotic Customs motorcycle guy? Is he?
I don't think so, but it's very similar to that.
Okay.
Like it almost looks similar because I've seen that and it caught my eye.
Yeah.
But he is on TikTok and does all these social media
really?
videos, and he just curses. He's just totally himself. And I remember the first time I saw it, kind of being like, dang, he's not scared to like say this or do that, Yeah. But he's killing it, and nobody cares. Like, they feel like, if anything, they feel like they know who he is, and like, you getting what you see, there's no mystery, or you don't have to be suspicious. Like, he is who he is. He's telling you up front.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it is great. It's freeing, and I don't think I really got real free until my late 40s and my 50s. And then I don't give a shit. I mean, if they don't like me, then why the hell do I want to spend, like, my projects that I do are large projects. They're large renovations. They're custom home builds, and they're year to year and a half. Why the hell do I want to spend my life with somebody trying to put on a front?
An
Screw
air,
that, man.
That's a long time to be with someone.
It is.
But I think I'm just starting that transition at 46.
How old are you? 46?
Yeah.
I think there's something with that age where you finally, something starts happening. You hear people having midlife crisis and stuff. And it's like, I didn't have a midlife crisis per se, but I just got to where...
But you do go through changes.
You go through changes. That's a better way to say it. And I'm like, yeah, I here, this is who I am. And come to find out, people are like, yeah, of course, they're pretty cool with stuff. And being completely honest about stuff. Like, I used to, when I would build for somebody, I wouldn't tell them I was going out of town. I would just work, and they would think I was still around. Now I don't give a shit. I'm going out of town, and I'll have limited, and you may get me and I'm drunk. I'm not telling you I won't answer because I answer my phone, but I don't give a shit. You get me and I'm drunk, just know the information's skewed. You got to have enough sense to know that. And they're like, fair enough, bro. We get drunk on our vacations too, and I'm like, there you go. It's kind of like we all put our legs on, put our pants on one leg at a time, as the old saying goes. And it's like, just be normal, and it's just easier. And as you get older, I don't know what it is. When you're younger, you're still worried about impressing people.
I don't think I've realized until recently, starting to feel this kind of change happen with me, where I am just wanting to be myself more. I don't mind, which was part of my move to Vibe. We talked about that a little bit. Like, I didn't realize how much effort and energy I used to spend. Like, I really did worry about how everybody would read this, how everybody would take this. And some of that's I mean, again, thinking about my sister saying that to me,
Of
we
course.
were raised a little bit that way.
Of
You know, like
course.
you've got to worry about your appearance and your reputation in the community.
For sure.
You know, like,
well, that's the
it was
common
a very
thread.
different.
That's the common thread of what it is. And I think when you're younger, you buy into it a little more. And then I finally think you get to a point where you're like, you know, at this point, I am who I am. Like, you know, and that's got to just be good enough because I just, I don't know if it's, you don't have the energy to do it or what, or, you know, to put that front on, like I'm this way one way and I'm not this. I don't
think
know.
some of it comes too from what you said a minute ago. Like you start to realize, like, okay, am I at a midway point in my life? I could be, you know.
Yeah.
So time starts becoming like more finite versus like when you're young too.
True.
I think you feel like you have like forever, and you do start like, or at least this has been my thought lately. Like I don't want to waste time.
Right.
Doing something I don't want to do, being something I don't want to be.
That is the
but
attitude.
you become so much more comfortable with who you are. And when you connect with someone, then that spreads to more people that you work with. And when I market to, it was really just visiting.
Yeah.
I'm not
I love
marketing.
That. I love that. I'm not marketing, I'm just visiting.
Right.
That's how it should be, man. That's really old school stuff. Like before, like, I don't know when it would have really come into, but before we started getting, hey, this is marketing, do this, and all about sales, and everything got so kind of corporate. It used to be like, you know, hey, I just know so-and-so, and he does this, and I work, you know, and I'll take my car to him, or I'll buy a house from her because that's just what so-and-so, and I know her, and that's what she does, and it's not, I have to. And maybe there's a competition thing out there, too, and I think people think, well, I better look better and do better and this and that and the other. And I'm sort of anti to that a little bit.
I am too. Real estate is very competitive, but when we're not competitive, and we're just friendly.
It makes it, that sort of sets you apart, doesn't
who
it?
we meet, in the groups, it's nice.
Yeah, I tell you, there's a lot of things about life I don't care so much for nowadays, but I do. There's a lot of things I do like. There's some really good innovation. I think people are now more of like, I just am who I am, like you were talking about with the earring. Now you see people with neck tattoos and piercings and all, and I see that, and I love it. And I'll tell y'all, have y'all met Whitney? You met Whitney.
I know it.
Have you met Whitney? She's a new agent with us. Yeah, so
I saw her announcement on Workplace, but I haven't met her yet. I've missed a couple of things lately.
We had a great talk about her, and she came in, and she had blue hair. You know how you do the coloring, and it was pretty, and I didn't think nothing about it. Now, 20 years ago, I would have thought something about it. It was crazy. Well, we had a talk. Her and I had a talk about it. She goes, you know, I know some people just think I'm crazy because blah, blah. And I said, you know, it's funny. I'm 55, and I'm an old Southern guy, you know, here, and you would think I might be like more judgy about that, but I'm not. I'm like, I love that you are who you are. Don't come into my office if you're not who you are. I'm going to see through it, and I'm not going to like you. That is the truth. Just be who you are. And she was so down to earth, and I just love that girl. And I was so happy she joined us. She's got a great story, and I want to get her on here as well. But be who you are. Be authentically who you are. And like you said, it's competitive, but I think if you are who you are, you'll work with the right people. That's better for everybody. And there's plenty of work to go around for everybody that really is good at their craft.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
You know?
That's that law of abundance too. That's something that'll probably changed me in some way when I heard about it. You know, it's one of these universal laws. I read a book once on it. And things they don't teach you. You know, we learn physical laws, but we don't learn kind of this other. A lot of people see it as hoo-hoo, I guess, you know, like, but one of the universal laws, whether you believe in God or whatever your higher power is like believing in a law of abundance. Like, hey, there's enough for you. There's enough for me. We don't have to step on each other
for sure
to get any business or to get ahead a little bit. And in fact, let's help each other out.
And giving back, even within our group, but to our community with the servant's heart, that's the biggest part.
Well, like the law of abundance, and I believe in the there's like a reciprocating law as well, and that's why we're so big on the why and giving back. And I love how you give back to the sheriff's department. I know you're tied in with your son and all, but that's a wonderful cause to give to. Yeah, I mean, my dad's a retired police officer, and it's definitely near and dear to my heart. And those guys, man, you see it every day, especially nowadays, how dangerous their job is. And, and they chose it. So, and that's what they want to do and how they're wired to be. But still, I mean,
it's still a sacrifice.
Pull someone over for a ticket and get shot, and it's like, you don't, that's a tough job. Whereas I don't think we have to worry as much about those things.
Right. We don't hear nearly half of what really happens.
For sure.
So
no.
For sure.
Well, and then when they are called to make oftentimes judgment calls in the heat of a life-threatening situation,
right,
they've got to have all the repercussions of whatever that is.
So scrutinized.
Yeah, so scrutinized on
Monday morning quarterback, and you're like, dude, have you ever had somebody shoot at you and you had to make a decision?
Split-second decision on what to do. Yeah.
And they're like, well, they should have done this. And I'm like, bro, gosh. I bet if I was to shoot a gun over your head right now, you would crap your pants and not make good decisions. That's what I've thought when there's been a few of these scandals, without getting into any one. They're all a little bit different. And probably some valid points on both sides, but that's what I've thought kind of every time is like, how do you know what you would do? And yes, they are trained for those situations, but still you can't train for every single possible scenario. I think that's how you do it, right? Individually, look at each one, and I think you look at intent and stuff. And look, there's some bad cops out there, and they are to burn them. That's a lot of authority that you're given. It's like soldiers.
Right, yeah.
I remember in the war, this was the weirdest thing. I was a combat soldier, front lines in Desert Shield and Desert Storm. And we were literally in a forward operating base, a FOB, and JAG officers came out there. And we had a meeting. The attorneys. I'm like, what the hell are they doing? I mean, literally, you could see Iraqis, and they're out there, and I'm here, I'm a young PFC, and I'm like, what is going on? This is weird. What are these guys doing out here? And they sat us down and said, if you commit war crimes, X, Y, and Z, here's what they are, blah, 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 you will go to Leavenworth, where you will break big rocks into little rocks and little rocks into sand for the rest of your life. And I was like, what? Now I have to make decisions on who I'm shooting at, and they're trying to kill me? I'm like, wow. It was a growing up moment, maturing for sure. But there are, rules to things you have to do, and so that's why you do train,
Yeah.
And I know Sheriff Reynolds had stated that how a situation is handled was done through training a long time ago.
That's right.
So they already knew how to handle that.
That's right. That's the best, and that's the base. That's the best way to do it. And I think you get people with the right intent. That's the case,
Yeah.
And of course, then they'll highlight the bad things, of course. And it's like 99% of guys are just good guys trying to do their job, and that's what they're wired for, and they want to do it. And you get some who are bad, and
it depends what channel you watch.
Yeah, that's true too.
Yeah,
that is so true, especially nowadays. That's an interesting thing. So which I want to touch on, and y'all, we can talk about anything, y'all. By the way, you talk about politics. I don't care. Okay. You can say I love Trump, Biden. You can say
they got to save that clip in case we need it.
Hey, listen. I mean, here's the deal. Anything we can talk about is out there. Or you can say, I love Biden, fuck Trump. I don't care.
Right. Yeah. It's all discussion.
It doesn't. I'm a Trump guy. I don't care that anybody knows that. I love it. I don't love him.
That's unanimous.
It's unanimous.
Yeah, I love his policies. Yeah, cheers to that.
But you see, that's a case of his genuineness.
I like his
still not being accepted by the media, at least.
Yes.
People are so worried that he said one thing that wasn't polished, and no doubt he's not near as polished as Obama and a lot of our other presidents. I mean, Obama was extremely charismatic and articulate, but
very true.
But I'm like, I don't care. I want somebody who's going to take care of the American people. Yeah. I really don't care if he curses. Sometimes
and he's
I don't care. I don't care if he drinks beer.
He's sacrificing so
much. He does. That's my line.
Well, he's the first real non-politician we've ever had.
And as a Texan, I really feel that border.
Well, I think we're all kind of those Southern kind of down-home people where it's like, if he's a good man and he does what he says, if he's not polished and all that, well, it's like we're talking about the genuineness of all this. I think that's why I like him, because I tell people I don't necessarily like him. He's a New York, builder, developer. I have really not much in common with that guy. I could never see me, I'm not going to hang out, but he doesn't bother me. I'm not trying to date him. He had great policies that had things working right. So, I don't know why people get so caught up in the cult of personality. But
he should be presidential. Okay, well, look, if we could have our cake and eat it too, maybe so. But if I got to choose,
fair enough.
I'd rather just effectiveness and honesty, right? Like, again, you don't worry that
he's honest. Maybe a little too honest.
Maybe too much, but I appreciate that. Yeah.
I dig it, right? Well,
I'd rather that than have to suspect what you're up to.
Right.
That you're not
The border's secure.
Yeah.
Like, bro, there's a reporter with guys running by him right now. Like, really? And so
because it becomes insulting at that point, right? You think that us American citizens are just a whole slew of peasant idiots. Like,
I know, exactly. So that's the thing. I think that comes back to genuineness. I will. I said this the other day to somebody we're talking about, and I was like, you know what I would like if Biden came out and said, yeah, the border's open because I want the border open. I'm the president. Fuck off if you don't like it.
Yeah.
Vote me out if you don't like it. I'd be like, damn, okay, fair enough, dude. Right on. I like him more.
Entertainment was how he spoke to the reporters would always kill me. And some people would be like, he's so rude. And I'm like, no argument. That was rude. But at the same time, sometimes things need to be said. And sometimes we don't say things that
Trump?
need to be said. Yes, like when he would tell a reporter, you're so terrible at your job. You're so terrible at your job.
You're fired.
Yeah. If I ran that, you'd be fired. It's like, wow, man. Well, you know what he reminds me of? He reminds me of the guy, like a good dude, man, when I was in the military. And you'd go out, and the guy would always get in a fight, and I'm like, man. Listen, there. Sometimes we don't need to get in a fight when we go out, but I got your back because you're a good dude. Right. But it's like he'll just say something about it. And I'm like, and I'm like, okay, bro. I believe in being genuine, but a little decorum goes a long way sometimes.
Right. Hopefully, you can find a balance there between the two.
Right. But, 100%. But talking about police and the security, I want y'all to definitely do this. Something. I wanted this for years, and now we're sort of implementing the safety class.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So me and Josh are doing that along with Phil. Y'all know Phil Adams from Angry Donkey, the trainer. So, here's a martial arts guy, and you got Josh, a Marine and a former cop.
Yeah.
Me and an old Army guy, and I've been a lifelong shooter, hunter, everything, all my life. And so we're going to put this class together, and it's going to be super practical on safety deals, situational awareness, how not to get in. But if you find yourself like, how to sort of get out. Even it's going to be a series. We're going to do it to where we go shoot. And I was talking today.
How do we get in on this?
Sign up for the CE class for sure. It's coming up. I think it's Mace. I don't know. May 17th?
It's 17th, yeah.
Is that what it is?
I do think I saw something about it. I just need to go back and save it.
Go back and look at it. I think it's going to be excellent. And
it's a 3-part, right?
It's going to be a 3-part.
But it's a CE class.
Right.
Okay.
Each of them are three-hour CE classes. So the first one's going to be me and Josh, and then Phil's going to come in on the last hour and talk about things. Mm-hmm. And so, and then as also a side to that, I'm going to do something. I want to go to lunch we would go to lunch at Governor's Gun Club. Okay. And we'll go shoot, and then we'll just have lunch. Cool. And I don't want it to be a big group. I want it to be just like us.
Okay. Yeah.
3 of us go, and we'll
So this is what you want, and a brokerage that you can go shoot guns with.
Yeah.
This is what I'm excited about.
I already brought mine.
It is unique in that.
That's right. Yeah.
But I want you. We talk about it, and I think it's one of those roles. And especially for some of the guys that were true guys, God, I would hate to know anybody associated with me, not that they had problems, but they didn't know how to react or wasn't trained, and we had the opportunity to do that. Yeah. I would hate that. That would kill me. I want to.
And it is good for realtors because it's been a long time since I've heard a horror story. But I mean, there certainly have been realtors that have been taken advantage of or put in some dangerous situation because our info has to be so public. It has to be out there. And then we're meeting people at vacant homes.
Well, it's what that's exactly right. It's what predators do. Right. You become very target rich for a predator.
No, I got a dash cam for Christmas.
Oh, that's great.
Front and rear.
That's a good idea.
Awesome.
Night vision.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Interior.
So that'll be part of it, right? Part to where that thing, where you pull in, it gets all your stuff and everything. Right. We're gonna talk about a lot of stuff. Most of situational awareness and knowing things. A couple little steps to make sure you don't meet somebody that you don't know. Have them come to the office. Or there's a couple of steps that we'll suggest taking so that you're never in a situation, because the biggest thing is don't get in that situation to begin with. Right. And then when you go into a house, maybe get there a little bit early, have it open, and say, if you're there by yourself and it's a guy, say, hey, it's open for you, please go in. You can even have your phone on. You can ask somebody on the line. It can be anybody, me, your broker, your husband, right? Son. I mean, it doesn't matter. Do something so that you're there. And all those things do is kind of keep you situationally aware. Don't let them get behind you.
Yeah.
Always. And
if you're going upstairs, I've kind of gotten in that habit. Like when I'm walking up the stairs, one, it can be done in such a polite way that you're just trying to let them go first anyway,
That's exactly right.
But it's I like to be.
Don't let them get between you and the door.
That's exactly right too. Yeah. And then we're going to talk about one of the things was if something does happen and they get between you and close the door, you go and run and close and lock the door. And hopefully you have something to protect yourself. Hopefully you're calling 911, but we're going to talk about that audible things, how to protect yourself. And it's just empowering. And I think the best thing is that it teaches you, how not to get in that situation. But if you do, here's a couple things that give you some confidence.
Right.
I think if you got confidence, then you're going to sell better. Because and I'll tell you, I'm a big guy and I fight and I all this kind of know all this stuff. I'm armed and everything. And my thing is situational awareness always. I don't want to have to be in it. I don't want to get myself in a situation to where I have to. But I'm pretty well equipped if I do. But it's just better if I don't, And if it's a weird deal and I'm like, like being set up or something, they're not getting behind me. I'm not going in that house. I'm not going to the basement with them.
Right.
And I'll tell you the truth, I have been with realtors where, and a lot of times it's girls, and here's this attractive girl and she's just in there and she is just head in the clouds. Yeah, come on in, let's go. And I'm like, well, I'm a good guy. And I'm thinking this in my head. Yeah. What if I'm not a good guy and you just turn your back and you walk right in that basement with me, or you go in this dark house with no power, no, the blinds are not open. Go in, open doors. First of all, it's good to have light in. Second of all, let it air out if it's a vacant house or it's a little musty or whatever. But now you got egress. If something happens.
Leave the door open. There's no pets in a vacant home that are going to get out. Like, why not leave the door open?
Leave them open. Yeah. They come in and close that door and they're like, rrr. You're like, you're right out the back door, or whatever. Have your escape routes.
And now with vacant homes, you have to be careful that it doesn't have a squatter in it.
Oh, good. I'm glad you brought that up. Bradley talked about that as we were discussing this safety class. So
something came up. I've seen something recently. I didn't follow up on it. What is the latest thing about the squatters' rights? And
so they're starting to get around those legally, because they could come in and you have to treat them as tenants and evict them and go through this whole big stupid thing. Which to me, don't call the cops. Just throw them out unless it's going to be a gunfight. You know what I mean? I just go in and grab them and throw them out and say, I'm going to call the police if you try to break in my house. Right. Again, but I get there's situations where you can't, or if you think there's going to be,
or if it's going to be contentious. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, okay, so you got to go through that. They're working laws out, but there are squatters now. But listen, that's been happening for a long time. I remember 20 years ago, going into for the construction side, when I first started, we would do apartment turnkeys and investment house turnkeys, where we would go in and, you know, fix them up, paint them, new carpet, get them ready to rent for investors, like portfolio investors. So I remember walking in, and I mean, more than once, I had the crap scared out of me. I mean, I would go
with them in there.
Oh, yes, crackheads. Crackheads.
That would absolutely terrify me.
We had that Linwood
so
Park.
startled.
You talk about crapping yourself, man. I heard something, and I open a closet. I'm like, what the hell is that? And I'm thinking, man, is there a cat in here or a possum or something? And there's a dude in there. He's a crackhead.
Yeah.
And where we would do it would be like DeKalb and Atlanta and stuff.
Yeah, Linwood Park.
Yeah, there you go. You know, and I'm telling you, it is freaking terrifying. You jump back, and I'm like, what the hell, you know? And guys like, hey, Roy, you know, they're out of their minds.
Yeah,
I mean,
they don't know.
Well, and so you have to look at it. I'm like, bro, you got to go. You know, I don't know what's going on. No problem. Doesn't look like you tore anything up, but you got to go. You know, they're like, okay, man. You know, and it worked out good for me in the couple of times that it happened to me. But that is terrifying.
Yeah,
it is.
Yeah, that would startle me, to say the least.
Well, it should. You got to wonder what's the reaction, because if it's a woman and that guy, I mean, if he looks up and sees me, he's like, oh yeah, that's more than a fight. That's I want to have my hands full. Might look at a woman and go, hey, what's up?
Yeah,
you want some heroin? You know?
Yeah.
We did some plow downs, so we really had to check that there was no one in there.
Oh yeah.
So
years ago,
there would be once in a while.
Did you run into some people?
Yeah, they would.
It's shocking, isn't it?
Yeah, you never know.
Because even when you think about it mentally, you're like, I know there could be somebody in here, but you know, probably not.
You don't think, you don't think it's a real
I
reality.
know, right?
Yeah. Years ago, I worked. This was when I was a mortgage underwriter, but I worked for a mortgage company, and the space that we had was in an old repurposed mall. Right, it was a mall that had gone out of business, and they had kind of repurposed it into this office park.
That's kind of cool.
It was cool, and they were trying to kind of get it to take traction, so rent was cheap, you know. So getting the first people in there, and so my company was in there, and I mean, 98% of the time it was fine. We didn't have any problems, but you know, certain parts of it were still empty.
Sketchy.
Right. Well, certain parts of the mall were still not occupied, right? You had a lot of unoccupied space and vacant space.
Yeah.
So, one morning, our poor little office manager, she was great, too. She went in to open up, you know, she kind of got there before everybody.
Yeah.
And there
she's
was
just
a
thinking
dude
she's doing a good
sleeping.
job. I'm here
there was
early.
A homeless guy just sleeping on the sofa in the lobby. Like, he had just, found a way in. And I think part of this was, too, because they were repurposing the office park. They were putting up walls in places that walls hadn't been.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
there were actually probably little, paths where you could get around stuff and get in buildings.
Sure.
You know, especially if you weren't afraid to punch a piece of drywall or something like that, you know. So he had apparently done this.
Really?
Yeah. It was just, napping in there, and then was half nude. Half nude as well. And so she was terrified.
Poor thing.
Yes.
Don't you know, she's like, man, I'm going to get to work early and do my thing.
By the time we got to work, the police were there, and she was outside crying. And it was the whole thing. And luckily, the guy, I don't think, gave much of a fight. I think he was kind of like the person you encounter. He was so out of it, he just kind of stumbled out and, didn't have too much to do. But I know he was detained for a bit. But that was awesome. Pretty fun. Yeah, that was like, wow, you really don't know what you're walking into sometimes.
You just don't. So you got to be ready for stuff like that, And that for her probably was a good learning lesson to be like, hey, maybe, which is, it kind of sucks, right? Because I bet she was thinking, I'm here early, I'm going to get in, open everything up, have it all squared away and show them, what I mean?
Yeah,
I'm
and
a
who
big
knows,
girl,
maybe he had done this before and he had just left before opening time.
Yeah, for sure she got there too early. He's like, shit, they caught me.
He had his alarm set. He was gonna leave.
That's hilarious. But that's a good learning lesson to go, hey, don't go in there by yourself or don't be by yourself.
Yeah.
Make sure you have somebody or, it's just one of them things. But, so anyway. Okay.
And that's a good thing with 5. I think we're all in it together.
Yeah.
So we're not worried about asking someone for whatever we need.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's definitely, that's what we like about the brokerage, right? It's like you can be as independent as you want or whatever, but if you want any help, all you got to do is ask. There's everybody here wants to help. I mean, all the agents want to help.
Sure. You know? Yeah.
I
love the culture here. I mean, and honestly, I get frustrated because part of my like stage in life.
Yeah.
And what I do with my kids and that kind of thing keeps me from being as involved as I really in my heart would desire to be. Sometimes like I've missed the last couple of masterminds and I'm like, oh, that's my favorite thing.
Right,
and like,
yeah.
You know, so I'm always juggling a lot and I wish I could be more involved and that'll come, you know,
seasons
things
in life.
But my point is then when I still needed you guys, because for the first time since I've had my license, I had a conflict with the closing and I wasn't sure what to do. And I couldn't, I called you guys and you were like, it's nothing. And then I was like, Andrew, I'm going to owe you one. He's like, yeah, you're going to owe me big time.
Big time. It's really tough being in there in the office.
And I felt okay about it. Like, you know, I had some natural apprehension just because I wanted to be there and that kind of thing, but not because I didn't think they were in good hands or that I was worried about something, you know. And
well, I appreciate you asking. I mean, it's one of them things to where I always hate when I hear and people are like, I just didn't want to bug you. I'm like, why?
Oh, gosh.
Why the hell not? I mean, that's what we're.
But I've been in environments and cultures where I did feel that way because I did more feel like it's gonna bug them, and you know, like whereas here I felt that a little bit just because I hated to ask, but at the same time I knew that y'all were people who were going to say, hey, how can we help you? You know what I mean? Like, so it wasn't near the level of apprehension that I've had in other environments.
Well, I think there are places, and a lot of agents have come to us now, and we're at 30-something now. And so, you know, agents have come, and they're like, man, I was just a number where I was.
Yeah.
And you know, I got sort of lost in the mix. And a lot of the bigger ones are, you know, like, well, there's nothing wrong with like, you know, KW or these bigger ones, but I think it's, you got to get plugged into where you are. Some people like, I'm at KW, you know, that means something to them and they like being in a corporate environment.
Right.
And some people like getting lost in a sea of people, you know, and I think our vibe more is, hey, I want to, you know, I want to be part of something that's kind of like, you know, a friend group or a family kind
community
of setting.
Or a family.
Community is a good way to say it.
Involved.
That's
why I joined Vibe.
Yeah.
All of that.
Yeah.
Same. I came from the opposite. You know, I don't want to say, but I came from a brokerage. There was a good brokerage.
Sure.
I mean, they're rock solid.
Yeah.
But the culture there just wasn't a fit for me at this stage in my life. I think it would have been when I was 25.
Yeah.
If I'd have done that, you know, it was the kind of that just like hustle, Tom Robbins, just get after it every day. But it also is very competitive. People aren't as open about helping one another. And even even your leadership, like you felt like wasn't speaking to everyone.
Yeah.
They were only speaking to the numbers they'd seen on the board kind of thing.
Well, they are, because that's their whole focus is money, numbers, transactions.
You want to get noticed, you get up there. Yeah,
that's
like
exactly
that's
That's
leaderboard.
Leaderboard. I think, and that's not where in life, like this is all the stuff we talk about, like the mastermind and the stuff we do here, and it's just not. We're not looking for that. I mean, we love doing a lot of work, and we've got a lot of top producers, and you know, we all like to do and make money and stuff, but it's a different vibe, for lack of a better term.
It is. It's a different culture.
Yeah, it is. That's a great way to put it. It's the culture. We want a good culture. We're solid people and we do well, but we're not just focused on making that money and how do I get the next one.
This is why I get so upset when I have to miss a mastermind.
Yeah.
Because I feel for me, now I'm a different kind of person. I know a ton of people who are way more competitive than me. It has never been a part of who I am. We actually talked about that in one of them when we went around the circle, and it was funny. Some people were like, I'm so competitive. Like, if it's like this, I gotta win. And it's so funny because I've always, now I will be hard on myself. I will, you know, beat myself up about not doing something better or should have done. But I've never had a competitiveness with other people. And so because of that, it's also not a great motivating tactic for me. You know what I'm saying? Like, to motivate me with that almost makes me
push
has
back
the opposite
some.
effect.
Yeah,
like I'm like, oh, I don't want to feel this way or whatever.
I'm motivated by my clients.
Right. Or making a difference.
Caring for them and taking care of them. Right.
And making a difference in the world. You know, like I think I've mentioned this to you before, is like I was in software development for 17 years before I got my real estate license.
You did. Yeah.
And I loved it. There was a season for it. I used to travel a lot. I went to New York, Maryland, you know.
Cool, huh?
I was fortunate to work on like a big merger project we had when Capital One bought Fifth Third Bank and some other things. And so I got to travel a lot. It was really cool.
Yeah, that's cool to check those boxes.
Yeah. And I enjoyed it. And then, of course, when I had kids, kind of the whole landscape changed, right? Like I didn't want to be gone traveling like I had been.
Changes
I was like, I'm leaving my baby. I didn't feel good about leaving my baby for 10 minutes. Like I was like, oh, you know. So that's when things started to shift. But oh gosh, what was I talking about right before that?
Like being competitive. Like
being competitive. Yeah. And so now I feel like and I spent all those years doing that, and I was kind of caught up in proving myself, getting promotions, doing these things, and that was good, and I was traveling and doing it. And then I just have slowly like evolved into like, no, I'm really not trying to be competitive, and I want more to feel like I'm making some impact.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's part of just aging too, like these things that happen to you in your 40s. But like,
no, I think so, because I was, you know, I was checking boxes and pretty competitive early on. Like I would.
That's natural.
Yeah.
But I think part of it is you are trying to prove like you can do certain things
in the world. You're flying. You're spreading your wings and you want to fly.
I can do this.
We had that opportunity without having children. Then you know, I was a defense consultant in D.C. for NavAir. And then I met my husband. Next thing I know, I'm in Lower Alabama.
Culture shock.
It was after being a Navy brat and all of the beautiful bases.
Yeah.
But then the babies came. Yeah. And it was a whole different world.
Yeah.
And right where I needed to be.
And you know,
mindset, perspective, for sure. Yeah.
I am a person who believes, too, that no matter what your job is or what you're doing, you are making a difference in the world. Because, we're all cogs in a wheel, so to speak. It takes everything to make the world. So I knew when I was doing software development that I was still making a difference.
For sure.
But it was very indirect. You know what I mean? It was several stages removed. I guess what I love, you know, people have asked me since I got my license, will you like the real estate work? And I'm like, I absolutely love it when I get to do it. Like, and part of it is because I feel like for this family or for this couple, like my little first time home buyers before Christmas that I closed for, this was the first house they ever bought. They got married a few months ago, you know. I feel like I was really like a part of a milestone with them. Do you know what I mean? Like I feel like I get to share this like super amazing milestone.
That's one thing
with
I
you guys.
love
it's
about.
So direct.
Yep. Nope. I love being a realtor for that. You're helping people. I mean, it's your job. We still get paid for it.
Yeah.
And we get paid well. You know, and I think it's one of them things where that is a sweet spot, man, because you're helping people. It feels good, you know?
Yeah.
Kind of like when I build stuff, it's tangible. I can see it, you know? And I just love that. And I think those are sweet spots in life and careers that
we're serving.
We're serving you 100%. Taking care of people.
It is.
And then when you do the things that are maybe a little outside of like the norm expectation, you know, like you're like, sure, I'll be there for something, I don't know. So I can't even think of a good example now, but just, you know, you can't make it to meet this person. I'll take care of it. Even though that's not necessarily something that we have to do all the time. But I will do baby while they're talking. Anything that I can. I can physically do because I want you to feel at the end of the day too that I've earned that compensation and that you felt comfortable. Because buying a house is freaking scary.
It's such a relationship that we gain too. And I've gone to right after closing, he carries her through the threshold and I take the picture and we toast with the wine.
That's awesome.
First home.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
That's so much fun.
Yeah.
My first little clients I had after I got my real estate license are still like my favorite little people in a way. Like they're First of all, it was great, right? You know how any new job is.
Yeah.
People are like, we want experienced people. Well, how do you get the experience? You know, so like these people didn't put me through the ringer on being a new agent.
Nice.
They were like, come on, let's go. You know, they trusted me. And
don't you love that? That's them giving back too, right?
Yeah, right. And we just had a good feeling about each other. And she would bring her little daughter, and they still laugh about this, that we had seen a number of homes. And the daughter was about 7, and her little brother was maybe 4 or 5. And they would always come to, and we were in one house, and Junie, the little girl, who I had gotten to know all of them because they were always there, she licked a window. And her mama was mortified. Her mama came running over there and, you know, fussed her like a mama would.
Of course.
And it's always easier when you're not the mom, right?
Of course.
But so she got fussed out and started crying and went in the corner and didn't want to come out from the corner and crying. And her mom was like, oh, this is so crazy. And I was like, let me try to help. And it is. It's easier when you're not the mom.
Of course.
So I went over there and said, Junie, come here. And I whispered something in her ear, and I told her not to tell anybody. And I whispered in her ear, you know, I said, look, I like to lick the windows too. But we just can't.
Yeah.
It's not like our house. And she went from crying to laughing, you know. And immediately, of course, gave my secret away. Went and told her mama and them immediately what I had said. And so they were like laughing. And I was like, you weren't supposed to tell everybody what I said.
Right.
But anyway, it's like still something that they laugh about. And it was like I got to have a whole relationship with like their family, their kids. And, you know, I still comment on pictures of that little girl today, like on Facebook.
Well, they probably tell people about that story to this day. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it was just like, it was a great time. And that's probably, out of everything, my favorite markable thing about being a real estate agent over my 17 years in a cubicle.
That's awesome.
You know, so I don't know. It's kind of funny how things work out, I guess. But
they do. What are some of the craziest things that y'all have ever encountered in the business?
Gosh.
I mean, I have run into squatters.
Luckily, that has not happened for me yet.
Gosh, I try to think about
I don't know if I've had anything like super crazy happen. I mean, I've had the times where, you know, you can't get into the house. The key doesn't
I had that
work.
recently.
And that's not super crazy, but it is super annoying.
The lockbox belonged to a whole nother MLS system. But it was over here. It was in Kennesaw.
It wasn't on Supra.
It was on Supra, but it wasn't working.
Oh, it wasn't FMLS. It was
connected, to the different group. So, I called around at the corporations to figure it out. It wasn't my key because that was what I was worried about. Yeah. So
how did you end up getting in?
He had to come from an hour and a half
away. The listing agent?
To unlock it.
Wow.
Yeah.
So he had it in a whole different area, and he just happened to put it on.
Was that North Georgia? Where they're
no, this happened. He was from like Carrollton area out that way when he got the lockbox assigned, but it switched MLSs later. Yeah. So it was still hooked into whatever MLS he had.
He didn't even know that.
He didn't switch it around with.
I've done that. I've shown up, especially in Northwest. And a lot of those folks were Chattanooga, but they dipped down into Georgia. Mm-hmm. So I've showed up at houses and be like, man, my Supra's not working on this. Come to find out, it's a different MLS. And same thing. Hey, can you send somebody out? And, you know, you end up working it out. You know, that's the good news.
One of the craziest thing was wiring wasn't working on a listing that I had. And the owners had used their home warranty protection people to come out. They had sent a master electrician out to check it out. Two of them, and they still couldn't figure it out. It was the squirrels.
Oh, the wires. Oh, no.
And so, you know, the wildlife can do their thing.
Well, so I got a crazy story for you. And this was actually before I was a realtor. I had gone to a house, and it was for sale. Mm-hmm. And I was going to look at it as if for an investment house in Lake Arrowhead. And I was looking around. I was like, man, I really want to get in there and look. And and I was looking through the windows, and it was vacant. Nobody was there. But it looked like there was some stuff still there. And I knocked on the door and knocked, and called the agent and couldn't get a hold of him. And I'm looking. And noticed that the window was a little bit cracked. So I opened it and I went in. And I'm looking around. I'm like, okay, cool. And I'm not doing anything, you know.
Right. You're just looking. But
yeah. And the door opens. And it's the guy that actually owns it.
He's like, excuse me, can I help you?
Hey, man, I'm just looking. He's like, what are you doing here? You know, my house. Yes. And I'm like, bro, listen, I am just looking around. I was thinking about buying it, blah, blah, blah. And he was not happy.
No.
You know, he didn't know me. He was scared. And I would get it. And I'm like, you know, sir, yes, sir, no, sir, I'm sorry, blah, blah, blah. So
this is a lesson to not trespass.
Yeah, it's really a good lesson not to trespass. But he dressed me down, and to the point where finally it got to me, and I went, look, I said, I ain't doing anything wrong here. I said, I've heard enough. I'm sorry. You want to call? Please call him. You know, I kind of bucked up on him a little bit. And then he settled down. He went, okay. I said, yeah. I said, you know, here's the deal. And he's like, okay.
And then he's like, I do want to sell you my house.
He did. He was. I think he was like, I don't trust this guy, but when I bucked up, he's like, okay, well, the guy must be legit.
He's confident enough.
Yeah, because he's not taking any more of my, because I deserve to be dressed down for breaking in his house.
A little bit.
Yeah, like, fair enough, you know.
But you're like, I still got an offer on the table for you.
Yeah, and then I talked to that guy, and come to find out, he was an investor, and he had already bought it and was flipping it.
Okay.
And he told me about it, and really it turned out to be a great conversation. He told me kind of what his formula was for flipping houses and how to do it. And I sort of followed that all of my career.
That got you started. Isn't that crazy how that stuff
happens? It was destiny.
It was destiny. I mean, I believe those things happen. And of course, they happen in crazy ways like that, you know. But it really was. He was like, yeah. And he goes, here's what I do, and blah, blah, blah. And he said, I do about 8 or 10 a year. I make about 20, 30,000 on them each. He goes, you do the math. I went, well, that's a lot of money. He goes, yeah. He goes, don't try and, you know, make home runs. Everybody wants to make, I made 100,000 off this one, or I'm going to make $1 million this year. He goes, don't do that. He said, buy a house. Get it for a good deal.
Yeah, because those opportunities, if you're waiting on that, you're not going to find it for
a
year.
You miss out. That's
it.
Yeah, the old tortoise, you know, and hair thing. But yeah, he literally, and I literally have. I'm like, man, if I had
went from calling the cops on you to like
a lesson, I was like,
giving you a lesson.
I almost got a lesson in jail. But then, he was really cool about it, and I was like, man, that worked out great. And I literally do that. To this day,
I think that's why I want to work with this chaotic investor guy, because you know, I you know how I am. I've talked about this in the masterminds. I get in my own way of doing something because I feel like I don't know. Not that I totally believe in horoscopes, but it does fit. I'm a Virgo. I like to have everything like planned out and detailed. I like to feel like I know everything before I go in. You know.
Which gives you paralysis by analysis.
Yeah, exactly, right? And so I've wanted to kind of
That's a woman thing, too. I always say women are smarter. Y'all are so smart. Y'all are like, I got to know all this is in line. It's like sometimes it's never going to all line up.
You just got to go. And that's something I'm getting better at, but it's been like a challenge for my personality, you know.
Sure.
But this guy, like, one investor I tried to approach early on, he wanted my portfolio of like doing, you know, what transactions have I done for investors? Questioning me about, you know, what formula do I use? How do I estimate this and that? And that kind of fed that already,
of course,
insecure part of me about that. I was like, okay, I don't know this area of the business. I can't really do this. I called this guy, you know, with Chaotic. And he met me at Dunkin' Donuts. We sat there at Dunkin' Donuts and had a coffee. And I told him I decided to just kind of beat him to it, right? Like I was like, look, I don't know this part of the business, but I want to get into it, you know. And I'm willing to work. I'm willing to do some things. So we ended up having a great conversation. And he told me his formula. He's like, look, here's what you got to do. He even gave me his credentials to like a system that they use for skip tracing and stuff. And was like, look, you want to log in under there and like.
Isn't that amazing?
Totally like.
You know what that is though? That's like we talked about. If you're honest and authentic, and like you went to him, you're like hat in hand, like here's what it is, and you're like, and he's like, okay, well let me help you, and now you can come and help me instead of what's your portfolio, and you don't know. Well, it's funny what we were talking about earlier. You want to get dressed up and act like it's better not to, you know. And I think then people want to help you because you're genuine. Like he wanted to help you, right?
Yeah. And he was like, hey, and if I teach you a little bit, maybe you'll bring me a deal. Yeah. Like that's the way he looked at it. And I feel like I can call him with anything that I might see or anything. Like I'm not intimidated to work with him. And it makes me want to find something for him all the more. You know, like,
100%.
My investor, we've done some deals. Well, she also gave me her daughter to work with. And then last week, I'm going to work with her coworker. Mm-hmm. So
that's awesome.
It does, it goes, it just keeps going.
Well, and like I said, that's what it is. It keeps going and going. You're authentic. It just comes out. It's just better just to be honest about it. Because if you try and I get the whole, they'll saying fake it till you make it and all that kind of, I get it. Sometimes you got to just get out there and, hey, I'm here. I'm licensed. I'm ready to work and do the deal. Yeah. I can do your whatever you want to do. But I think being authentic like that's the way to go. And like, hey, I don't know, we'll learn it together. But I'm eager. I want to work. I want to know stuff. And then they're like, I want to help you. Because don't we all want to help?
Yeah.
People.
He must love the fact that you went to him to work with him.
Right. That's right. Well, it was right after interest rates went up. And I was like, I don't know what's going to go on. I don't know how things are going to go. But this is an area I've been interested in because I love just fixing things up. This is why I do vintage and antique reselling on the side too, because I love taking old things and just making them nice and somebody's going to use it now. So I love the flipping anyway. I'm like, we have a housing crisis. We don't have enough affordable housing for people. They're taking places that are inhabitable and making them habitable and beautiful and affordable. So I love what they do, honestly. I have a respect for it. But I think what I'm learning too is there's a way to combine some confidence and still be honest. So like when I met with him, I told him, I said, look, this area is new to me. I don't know a whole lot about it. I've Googled what I can. I understand, the after repair value, and I understand that you got to make some money in this, but
returns,
there's some things I don't.
For sure.
There's some things I don't know.
So the 70-30 rule and all that kind of stuff for hard money
I've looked
and
up some of that, and but he talked to me, but I also told him in the same breath, I said, but I know I can do this. I said, I've learned a million new things in my life. There's no doubt about the fact that I said, if you'll work with me, and tell me what you're looking for, I'll find it. And so
that's great. That's confidence.
I think he saw both. Like, I think he saw, okay, she doesn't know everything about this. I might need to help her a little bit, but she seems competent. Or what Theo Vaughn said, I'm decently competent. Like at least 80%.
Well, if you're honest and genuine and they like you, they'll work with you and you can learn it. I think that's the way to go.
There's so much information to always study and learn.
Of course. And there's always resources and people that'll help you. So you recently got something that's really cool you were telling me about.
Oh, I'm applied for the CRS, the Certified Residential Specialist. Yeah. So it takes a few weeks to get that back, but hopefully I got that.
That is awesome. So what are the requirements? Talk a little bit about
the requirements. There's 2 different avenues depending on how many sales you've had. Yeah. And it's only residential sales. None of the land sales can count. I think it was a minimum of 64 transactions to have an average of $1 million per year, minimum of 10 years. I've been in since 2000.
That's awesome.
But and back then it was to get $1 million in sales.
Oh, it was even harder. Yeah,
it was
for sure.
Yeah, and
now it's one house,
right?
And then
maybe 2, but
depending on which course I'm on the pro plan for it. So then that was 16 hours of credits. So I decided to do some certifications with that. I did the Smart House to learn more about that.
Oh, that's great.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's more of the contracts now that we're doing. And then I just finished.
You're talking about all the home automation and things like that.
Right, home automation, the hubs, and how everything interacts and multilingual and all that.
That's very cool.
That and 7 things successful agents do differently. And then next week I do the probate certification.
It's amazing.
Oh, see, I want to learn more about that because I don't know, things are naturally taking a direction for me that I couldn't have planned per se, but sometimes that's the best
best
ones. You feel like maybe it's the direction you're supposed to go in. But I just more and more I've had this side hobby of selling vintage and antique things, and I've done it. I've helped my best friend when her mom was downsizing, kind of got in there and just helped them sell some things that she needed to do. But it's made me realize that opportunity keeps on presenting itself by word of mouth. And it makes me realize, like, really, we've got a whole generation of boomers who are at downsizing age.
That's right.
We've got, they're either passing away, unfortunately, or they're getting to a point where they can't keep up the place that they've had for the last 37 years. And
so there's that's what I always wonder. I mean, we need affordable housing, and we have a low inventory right now, and I'm like, how is, like, now that they're downsizing, why isn't some of that inventory coming back online for families?
It's got to. We're gonna start seeing that at some point. I feel like
we have to.
I feel like we're starting it, and it's going.
I do too.
Yeah.
My folks, though, man, my folks are in their 80s, and they won't. I mean,
mine won't downsize.
Mine won't either. And I'm like,
will not.
So,
mine did. Yeah.
Yours did?
Mine went to 55 plus.
Oh my God. I've been begging I'm like,
yes.
Why won't you? I will go to that.
Yeah.
I'm like, when it's time, I will go to assisted living. My daughter was like, what, you're not going to come live with any of us? Or my daughter-in-law actually was like, we're not taking care of y'all? And I went, well, maybe, but I'm okay with going to assisted living. Dinner, parties, I don't plan nothing. I just walk around with a drink in my hand.
If you can afford to be at one of those places, I'm ready to go,
I'm
too.
I'm like, you know what I mean?
I don't want to end up in the government.
Hey, I'll be knocking on y'all's door. Susan, are you awake? Bill, what are y'all doing? All right, y'all go back to sleep.
He's probably working.
See if Felicia's up. Yeah. I'm like, I mean, it's just a party.
My grandfather went into one of those assisted living places after my grandma passed away. Yeah. And that was my first, like, insight into one of them. Yeah. I was like, they have weekly wine tastings. They have shuttles that go to the mall, and ladies go and get their hair done in a big group, like it's a bridal party or something. Like, I'm like, they're having a blast over here.
So check it out. After I got out of the Army, I went to college, and I was in college full time. Army was paying for all that. And I worked part-time for Kennestone Hospital in Wellstar. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Well, sometimes they have a place called Atherton Place, assisted living. And there was one floor that was like nursing care. Like if somebody was assisted living and they needed more, they'd go to that. And then they would go to whatever, you know. And so, but most of it was a big high rise. It was very nice, assisted living, dining room, all that stuff. So I would go off security there for them. Oh, they love me. These old grandmas and granddads, man, they just love me to death. Like I was like their grandkid or something. And I got to where I would drive a bus and drive them around. They were so fun. Yeah. I was like, man, y'all are living your best life.
Because you know what? They've long been past this care of what everybody else thinks age.
Like we're talking about times 10.
Right.
They didn't give a shit about what people thought anymore. They're like, man, I ain't got much time. I'm having fun. I'm enjoying life. And they had a ball. It was their best life. I was like, I am in on this. And I talked to my folks and they're like, we're not going anywhere. We're still staying here. We die. And I'm like, why? I don't understand, man.
With my parents, it's that they're intimidated by the work it would take to relocate. Like I feel like if my mom could like Mary Poppins it and just be somewhere else, then they might would.
Well, there's groups that do that. I did the SRES.
I tried to tell her, but
that's what I told him.
The whole change is like too much.
Well, my dad's the same way. He's like, man, I'm not moving again. I said, it's not like you're gonna get a U-Haul and a bunch of pizzas and get your buddies to come do it.
No, that stops when you're 35. Nobody will do anything.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I said, we're gonna hire movers to. We'll move. I said, first I'm gonna sell most of your junk, but you know. I said, so you ought to just get rid of it now and go on vacation or spend your money because, you know, but it's like, enjoy your life or whatever. But it's a funny mindset that a lot of them are holding on to. But you're right. At some point, they have to start coming online. You know, my dad was like, no, my mom can't get around good. And he's like, I'm going to look into one of them stair lift things for her because it's a 2-story over in Town Lake and all this. And I'm like, okay, whatever. And my niece is like, no, we got to make them. I said, no, we're not making them. They're still adults.
Yeah.
They're like teenagers.
That's tricky.
But they're still adults. And so, you know, Dad's like, I'm going to get one of these stair lifts. All right, check into it. So he checks in and I said, how'd that go? Well, it's good. It was about, you know, $5,000 or $6,000 for it to go halfway up to the landing. I said, okay, what's the rest of the cost? Well, I don't know. That was a lot. And I was like, if we do it, we'll just do it that. And I said, you're kidding me. You
you go walk the rest of the way.
Man,
you can go halfway.
So I've turned into my dad when I was a stupid teenager doing stupid stuff. And, and it's all I can do not to be mean. And I'm like, don't be mean to the old folks. But I can't help it. I'm like,
why would you go halfway up the stairs?
Yeah, I'm like, okay. I said, help me out, Pop. I said, because it sounds like the stupidest thing I've ever heard. So I need you to help me out here.
Crawl up.
Please help me with your
logic. So you're going to get up to the landing and then, hey, you're on your own, girl. Good luck. And he's like, yeah, she can make it the rest of the way. I said, you buy cars with 2 wheels now? He's like, what do you mean? I said, okay. I said, I'm going to, I need to call you back. I got to call you back. You know, I was so mad. I was like, man, now I know what he felt like when I was a stupid teenager. I was like, are you kidding me? He just hang up on me a lot of times. That's how it's payback.
Do you think he's doing it on purpose?
No, I don't think he's doing it. I think they're crazy. I think they've turned into teenagers again. And like, what?
Well, and I think some of that comes, we'll be there one day too. I try to remind myself that too when I get annoyed with the old people. But
when I'm fussing to my kids about it, I tell them, I said, guess what? This is what you got to deal with. That's
because
what you're
I think too, what happens is, you know, we worry about finances at this age. Yeah. We worry about this, that, and the other. But we're like, we can still make money. I think when you get to a certain age too, they're like, we've got what we've got. We can't make any more. Right. So they're afraid to spend for the second half of the stairs because, like, we don't know how long we're going to live. Exactly. We don't want to burn up all our money. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So I think that's where it comes from, but it does seem ludicrous. You like it.
Absolutely ludicrous.
I'm glad my mom's got the good military retirement plan. She and my dad
that's
put
wonderful.
money into. Yeah,
to get
that. And the kids need to just get together and be like, look, y'all pay for the half. We'll take y'all the rest of the way. Okay. We'll put in and bring y'all all the way upstairs.
Well, that's the thing, and he's a retired cop, and she's retired Lockheed. They have good. They have good money made. And I'm like, what is wrong with you? You know, I would pay for the other half, but I don't need to. They have the money to pay for the other half.
They're also still the generation too, where they're probably really trying to leave y'all something.
Yeah, and that's what I tell them.
They're hanging on to as
and
much
I try and tell them, I'm like, spend your money, do whatever. I said, don't leave me this hat. I'm going to burn your house down is what I'm going to do if you have all this stuff. And I don't want all that crap because it's a different world now, you know?
Oh, yeah.
And they've got tons of like cookbooks and like these cookbooks came from wherever. And I'm like, I don't care. Nobody wants them. I said, I'm not being mean. I love it. I love the sentiment of it and all that. I said, but I can assure you, I have a little house on the lake, like 2 bookshelves of cookbooks ain't coming to my house.
Yeah. But at least
our culture's gotten very different though. You know, it has. Like used to be acquiring things and showing off your things was a part of the culture, and it was a part of like you showed your status a little bit. Now we're into kind of minimal living because we reached a what's the word, like a peak, I guess, like where people can afford so much with Walmarts and everything. And things used to not be that cheap.
You're 100% right, and then also innovation.
Yeah,
you think for 1 minute,
Kindles, we don't need books.
No, you think I'm going to go through 100 cookbooks to find
when I can just search recipes with ground beef.
Right, exactly. And now you just go, Alexa, recipes with ground beef. You know, I mean, now you don't even have to type it. And I'm like, you know, some things you have to embrace, you know. And I'm like, no way do I want all this stuff. So Dad, he's pretty cool about it. He's been getting rid of stuff. He'll take stuff up to NLB or he'll get rid of stuff. I got rid of that today. I'm like, boy, get rid of it. Get rid of it and spend the money on yourselves or the kids or whatever you want to do. You know, I don't care, but you don't need all that stuff. But I do. It's an interesting deal, you know. And it's part of our lives, but it's part of our real estates too, you know.
Yeah.
Because as people come, I mean, eventually.
Well, that's why the two things have seemed to kind of like, I don't know, they're melding together for me and kind of what I do even, you know, is my real estate friend. Okay, so she's given me my latest job to help this lady downsize and sell some of her stuff. She was at my previous brokerage with me, right?
Okay.
So we're still best friends, but we're at 2 different brokerages now. And she's like, hey, I got this lady. I need to list her house, but she's got a ton of stuff. Can you help her?
Oh, yeah.
Get rid of it?
Yeah, sure.
I'm like, sure. You know, I mean, I do it for 50%, right? Which I know sounds like a lot, but I got to make trips over there. I got to write this stuff up. I got to photograph it. I do all this, you know.
That's a great business and a great ancillary business. You should promote
that. It is a great
that.
ancillary business. And it's something that kind of just happened by happenstance.
Yeah.
And so, you know, as the first time I did it, I thought I was doing it like one time to help somebody or whatever.
Yeah.
And then, but what's happened is it's like, okay, you did so good. Look, my so-and-so has got somebody, they got some stuff they need to get rid of, you know.
Yeah. I love that too. I love going through old stuff like that.
Yeah,
I don't want it, but I love going through.
It's given me
memories.
It's given me a great perspective on sentimentality, what things can mean for people, and you got to be sensitive to that and like help people. Yeah, and you know, the more you can praise. Let them tell you their story about this sideboard that they got from England, and they got a great deal on it, and they used it for 3 different things in their lives. You know, let them tell you that, because then they can get rid of it. They can let it go too a little easier because they've shared that with somebody. And even for me personally, like I love all this stuff, but then it's also made me realize I don't want it when I'm like it needs to all keep moving.
I think that's
you know what I mean. Like that's the way it's supposed to be.
I've always thought it's good. Take pictures, make a book. Then you've got it.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
You never have to really get rid of it, because then you have all the stuff that you are having to donate or get rid of.
Or understand and appreciate it and love it for the time that it is with you.
Yeah.
It is. You know what I mean? But it's not. It doesn't have to be yours till the end of time. It can serve someone else. That item can serve someone else.
Well, and I think being aware too, don't be so tied to it, or if you are, don't think that it's going to be something you're going to pass down and they're going to love it like you do.
Right. Because I remember my mom saying, does anyone want this? They're moving from a big house in Alpharetta, downsizing, and some of it was my dad's stuff who'd passed away 20 years ago.
Sure.
And that was sentimental. My sisters and I divided, but it was like, no, Mom, I really don't want that wingback chair. Are you sure? I'm like, yeah.
Pretty sure.
I don't know where I put it.
Yeah, pretty sure.
It was nice looking.
And I will no longer accept things from my family that I don't have full discretion of. So I'll take it and I'll use it while we need it or while we can, but I need the discretion to get rid of it. The ones where they're like, here, you take this, but you can't ever get rid of it.
Oh, yeah.
That's the ones I'm like, I don't take those anymore.
No
because
way.
I'm like, that's unfair.
No
I know, it's either mine with full discretion.
Oh, I didn't think about that.
Or that's it's not, because a lot of the previous generation did that too. And they, you know, my grandparents actually felt a lot of the depression. Then you had the boomers right after that were raised by the depression parents, so they still had it. We've been the first generation, I feel like, that maybe didn't suffer a lack of objects, a lack of furnishings, things you needed. In fact, we're being burdened by the opposite problem. But
I think, in fact, all of our generation,
we're so drowning in consumer shit.
Yeah, we got to solve. To me, we get to see we saw one of the biggest turning of the tide of stuff, right? Like from the 60s, you know, where it was like Vietnam and all that, and it was sort of in a holding pattern. The 70s started booming and cars were cool. People wanted this and by the 80s, everybody was wanting, consuming, and economy was booming and everything, you know. And then by the 90s and 2000, now we're just stuff everywhere.
Yeah.
So
it's actually a problem. I mean, you know, we
sure.
have to keep it moving and give it to people who can use it right now.
Yeah.
I think people are getting smarter about saving and investing in real estate.
Because
they know the valuation is going to go up. So they're
very attuned. I think because of innovation and technology, they're very attuned to like rates and all the different articles of how it moves and stuff like that. Have y'all noticed? Or like clients will ask me, hey, what do you think about this? And I'm like, that's a weird question from somebody that's just thinking about it, but they have knowledge right at their fingertips to go, oh, yeah, I'll talk to them about it. And they're like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And I think a lot of times they just want to know that you're kind of on top of it too. Like they see
that
something
you're paying attention.
Yeah, it's like, God, that's something crazy. Do you know that? Yeah, I do. It's, I'm like, it's weird you know it. How do you know that? That's an insider kind of deal. But you're right. They're smart. People are smarter. They drill down and get in the weeds on it. It's like financial, health, and real estate is part of that. So they know these things.
Well, and I think in general, no matter which side of the political fence you're on these days, we all share in common that we're not just thinking somebody's going to take care of us anymore. Like I think some of the last generations felt like, they had Reagan economy and they had 401ks that really did come through for them, and things like that. Not happening today. Like we all know, like no matter which side of the political fence you're on, you better not rely on
Social Security or
Social
pensions.
Security. No, nobody's coming to take care of you. You better figure something out for yourself.
Right.
Yeah, so that's true.
So how was it moving your parents? What did they end up doing?
My mom had a moving van, and she donated a lot of furniture out because she's a planner, military wife. I moved 30 moving van moves.
Good gracious, is that right?
I did. Well, you marry a builder who was in the military, and you
grew
up in the military. And
of course.
But so she was really well aware.
Yeah.
She knew where she was moving into.
Yeah. She was good. How was your dad?
My stepfather, he was fine. My mother at first wanted a different community.
Yeah.
But my stepfather wanted to be closer to Kaiser. Chastain.
Okay.
So, because when you get older, you have more doctor visits.
Of course.
Yeah.
And they're so glad that they chose the property at New Chastain.
Good.
But see, the fact that they had moved so much when they were younger probably did make it easier.
I'm sure, and they're conditioned for it a little more. They're
like
more.
My parents have not moved.
Mine either.
35 years.
No.
So, see, I would always be like, time to go.
Yeah.
We've been here too long.
Do you like to move now because you were that way?
If it was locally, I could.
Yeah.
But I've been in my home for 8 years.
No kidding.
Which seems long.
Does it really?
It does.
Yeah, because it's not a long time for most people.
It's
definitely your moving perspective.
I had fifth grade in 3 states, second grade in 2 countries.
Holy cow.
And it was...
Where all did you go? Talk about that a little bit.
5th grade in 3 states. Okay. My dad was in Vietnam when I was in 4th grade, so we'd always go back to Texas, which is our home base.
Okay.
But usually in the Navy, you're in San Diego.
Yep.
Or the Washington, D.C. area.
Yep.
My dad was Naval Intelligence Subspecialist, so there were other portions outside of the Pentagon he would be in.
Oh.
And then, overseas, he was at the embassy in Canberra, Australia.
Okay.
So we always had to behave a little extra better.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But I was a middle child. I was in 2nd and 3rd grade.
Were you trouble?
Not too bad. I was in 2nd and 3rd grade, but it was fun for a kid. Yeah.
What a great experience, huh?
It was. It was. And then
it probably made you more resilient.
Well, I read an article about military kids, how they are more resilient and a little more social and eager to meet more people, and that they volunteer more because they're used to.
You're used to community and helping the community,
And starting over and trying to meet new people again.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, meeting new people is definitely an easier thing for somebody that's used to doing it all their lives.
And sometimes it's harder when you're in high school to leave your close friends.
Yes.
Those are some tougher ones.
Boyfriends.
And then I can remember my sister just crying, but you could always reinvent yourself.
Oh, that's right. You said that the other day, you could reinvent. That's a really cool concept that you reinvent yourself.
My sister did. She went by her name, her middle name. We usually call her Elise, but she went by Mary.
That is fascinating.
And people would talk about Mary, and I'm like, who are you talking about?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you forget, right? Ain't that weird? Mm-hmm. That's kind of a cool deal, though. Did she act different?
She was a little more. She was in high school. I was in junior high.
Like, was Mary the bad girl?
No. Mary became more private, and she ran for her school office without even telling us. She was a little more private.
Really? Okay.
So she was a little more outgoing.
Wow.
That's a more prominent way than most people do it. But I love the concept or the example of that because there are...
Reinventing yourself?
Again, like I feel like... my age thing. I'm not going buy a convertible and like dissolve my marriage or anything, but like you do go through some changes where you're like, you know what, I'm starting to really hone in on like what's important to me versus what's not, how I want to experience the rest of my life. Like, I don't want to be insecure, worried about what everybody else thinks. Like, I want to live my life fully. I want to enjoy every day. I want to be grateful for it. I want to come into my own. I want to know myself better. All these things. And
we talked about like the mastermind, like priorities. So priorities, and you think, well, priorities, okay, how to prioritize and, you know, like outlook, your priority list and your to-do. And it was different. It was like priorities of your life. Yeah. Like who you are and what's your purpose. That was the mastermind. Right. And we talked about those things, and there's like it's a psychological term. It's called an audit. You're auditing your life. Right. Psychologically, like you're talking about. And that's what Mary Elise
did at a very young age. That's really interesting. She did it so early.
Yeah, she did it early, that's what's fascinating to me, because you audit your life and go, hey, I want to get I want different things. Yeah. And that's part of your cognitive behavior and thinking.
And if we allow ourselves to do that, if we're really conscious of that whole process, we'll probably do it a whole number of times in our lives.
I would think we would be happier.
Well, it's a continual refining almost.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's a perfect way to say it. And I think you're right. I think it does make you happier because you're kind of checking in on the process. Am I on the right path? And you're doing those things. Because I think we all do it regardless. You can't help to.
Right. You're just unconscious of it.
Yeah. Is it mindful, intentional, or is it just like unconscious, unconscious? You just subconsciously maybe.
Right. You might as well be conscious about it, because either you're going to steer your life or your life's going to steer you. You know, like they say.
So you should have been a mastermind and said that.
This is why I love mastermind. I love all that stuff.
We'll have to have a hybrid Zoom.
It makes you, think about, like, intentionality to me is probably the thing that all of us, I mean, it's so generic to say it by itself like that, but I'm saying it can be applied to anything, but it's probably one of the most important things that most people never do. We're just not that intentional. We wake up, we go about where the day takes us instead of where we want to take this.
I always have goals, though, things I want to do.
That's so
check it off.
Yeah, that's so smart.
And sometimes I'm surprised, I'm almost there. Yeah. Because you're not paying attention. You wrote it, but
Well, and it's become a habit for you. That's your process. I think it's really good.
And then you're like, it motivates you to reach that next goal.
Yep. Right. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think maybe what I've learned the most, we've talked about this in the masterminds too, is to prioritize and plan, but then also be flexible.
Yes.
I've been good at the first one in a lot of my life, and not so much the second one.
You don't pivot well?
You get thrown. I'm getting better at it, but like change, didn't come the easiest for me because I like to control. I'm a control freak at heart. Like, of course. But I'm learning more and more with age, and again, like this. Yeah. Sometimes,
which is a cool process, by the way.
Well, yeah, and also what I've realized about it too is I have to give God room to work. Like if I'm literally trying to control every little facet, then what if He has something in mind?
He'll lead you there.
I saw something the other day.
Yeah, He's definitely more powerful, but He'll let you trip yourself.
Yeah, He will.
I saw something the other day. I thought, wow, it's a little harsh, but it's true. It's like worry is devil worship. Because you're worrying about, will this go the way I want it to go, and controlling and blah blah. Yeah, none of those are godly things,
right?
And I was like, wow,
it's all
that's
against.
True.
It is all opposing faith.
That's what. Great way to look at it. And who opposes faith?
Right.
And that's where that quote.
Now, a less harsh one that I like, but I also like it, is worry is a misuse of imagination.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a very philosophical one.
Yeah. Yeah. Because if you are going to imagine things, why not imagine positive?
So I love that from a psychological, not so much spiritual, but
right. It's a different.
Yeah, it is.
It's a more secular application.
But I love the psychology of that. God, that's exceptional.
You're just misusing. You're imagining things.
Bad things.
Yeah, bad things.
Why not? If you're going to worry about it, And who does this? This is really, God, that's exceptional. Like, if you're like, man, I want this to happen and this outcome, but what if it's better? And what if it's that?
Yeah.
Who does that?
Right. Not me.
None of us.
No.
Oh, shit. What if it goes sideways?
Right.
And
We're
it's
usually
really
more
up?
worried about
I fucked it up, Oh, my God. And that's why are we worried about over here? Like, hey, man, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the whole thing is, after we've done it, we see it wasn't bad.
Yeah.
Because we've worked hard.
100%
I think the challenge is
to worry for nothing.
Exactly.
I think the challenge, and this was part of my problem when I was younger, is I gotten into software development, and part of my job was figuring out what and all the possibilities that could go wrong.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I did a lot
Like
of risk mitigation. Yeah, a lot of bugs. Like, if the client goes this way, does the software have a path for that, or are they just gonna like dead end into an error, or is it so I think I trained my brain to think like, what's wrong with everything for so long,
That's true.
But
that makes sense.
But there's an art to being able to recognize the risk and mitigate for it, but not get hung up on worrying about it. You know what I mean? So
prepare for contingencies, but don't live in
yes,
that.
this could happen, but I'm going to imagine, and yes, this can happen, and let's have a little contingency for it, but I'm going to imagine, I'm going to use my imagination for the positive side of it. But it's hard to balance the two. Sometimes I think a lot of people get caught up in planning, and they feel like, well, if I'm a plan, I got to think of what's the worst thing that could happen. How am I going to mitigate that?
I don't think it's a bad idea to plan for contingencies. But don't live
you can't get hung up on it. Don't let your imagination play in that space. Yeah, just figure out.
That's right. Well, that's good to think about too, because talking about the safety classes, because what I want people to do is be prepared so that they're like, hey, like you, if you're showing somebody a house, let's say, and you're not real sure about it, you're like, that's cool. I'm prepared for it. So if things do go wrong, I'm prepared. So what I can really focus on is selling this person a house.
Yes.
And get this house done and close them. You know, that's what
because I've got that contingency in place. I don't have to worry.
Yeah, I've already planned for it. So it's we sort of trained for it, and we're good. And now, I can sell them a house. Shit goes sideways, I know how to do it. But here's what I'm planning for. I'm letting my imagination say that I'm gonna sell this house to this guy, and it's gonna be fine.
I also like the application of imagination, or the concept of that in adulthood period, because I feel like we just
not childlike anymore.
Yes, we grow up and responsibilities beat us down, and we don't spend a lot of time just imagining.
I'll tell you what's been really cool about. So now I'm 55, and we're empty nesters, and I get back to doing those like things like that. You know what I mean? It's funny because I don't have to worry about my kids as much. It's a different kind of, thinking about it.
It's a different stage.
It's a different stage. So they're on their own, and they're capable, and they're doing their own things. And now when I talk to them, it says, how's your life going? What's going on? I don't have I'm raising kids, and it's more
it's
intense.
Not 100%.
But your grandchild's coming, so it's going to all come back.
I know, and that's okay. I'm so excited about that because then when I'm done with it, I'm going to hand it right back. I'm going to spoil him.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God. They have no idea. My son's already threatened, said, he is not coming to see you. I said, that's where you're wrong. He is, and I'm going to spoil him.
Spend the night.
I can't wait. I cannot wait to be a grandparent. I didn't get it till I was a mom.
Yeah.
But now that I'm a mom and I have to be responsible for I let him eat too many chips. I let him do this.
Right.
I can't wait to be a grandparent and not be somebody else's burden. And I'm like, here's some Zaps and some Bluebell.
Yeah.
Okay, that's your mama's problem.
Yeah. Me and him are sitting in the recliner eating chips and ice cream. Y'all eating dinner yet? Nope. Not yet.
And that's why I give my mother-in-law some rope, and she's respectful. She never goes too overboard, but she does indulge him with some sugar sometimes. But I give her a little rope because I'm like, dude, when I get there, that's what I want to do.
Right.
I mean, she spent years worrying about all that, you know. And in the frequency of time they're with their grandparents, it works out. It's not like they're doing that every day.
You have?
I have 5 and 1 on the way.
Really?
Yep.
When's the one on the way?
Due October.
I wonder if I knew that. I forgot if I did.
My baby's having a baby.
You sugar them up and spoil
Always,
them?
yeah. My husband more. My husband more. I think I'm more
Bill
practical.
does more?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
He always has cookies for him.
Right
and
on.
Ice cream. And
Good for him.
Yep.
That's how it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Man, all you want them things, I want to go to Grandma and Grandpa's house. Man, are you kidding me?
They cry to come over.
Heck yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's how it's supposed to be.
And there's certain things like that she keeps in the pantry, that she knows that they like that we don't buy.
Right.
Like the Stroop waffles. Y'all know what those are? They love those. So they like go over there and they're like, we're going to get a Stroop waffle. And I'm like, that's awesome though, right? Because it's just one of those things they'll remember about
Special to
grandma.
them.
I was
They
like,
will.
and
Absolutely.
I almost haven't bought them for our house like on purpose. I'm like,
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
that's
a
grandma's
cool
house
thing to do.
Like, yeah.
Yeah, don't mess up that because that's a cool thing.
That was
they
her
have.
thing.
Yeah.
But I have the best mother-in-law in the world. Like we
Now they're
we
here, right?
worked
Because you helped
together
them
with
get
them.
a house.
I did, yeah. So my in-laws have moved here. They
Yeah.
moved here a couple years after we were in Georgia. They wanted to wait and make sure we weren't going to move again.
Sure.
Then when we finally about the third year, I think they were like, "Okay, y'all staying put, right?" Like,
Right.
So they came on over because they didn't like missing the time with the grandkids.
Yeah, of course.
It wasn't for us. We all
course.
know that. But but my parents are some rooted people. They're not going to do it, which is okay. Everybody's got to do
Yeah, of course.
what they're comfortable doing. So they're still in Louisiana.
Yeah.
But we got the in-laws here, and so it's good.
And it's Baton Rouge?
It's good, yeah. It's about 30 minutes south of Baton Rouge, a little town called Plaquemine.
Oh, I know where
Yeah,
Plaquemines
you know where that
Parish
is?
is. Yeah,
It's
that's in
actually not the
Covington.
parish, believe it or not. The little small city and the parish are different, but
Really?
nothing's that far
I
apart.
lived in Abita Springs, Covington.
Yeah. Abita
That's
Springs
cool.
is great.
Now how do
yeah.
you know about it?
Because Bill was running his company's office in Metairie,
Okay.
and we lived
Okay.
out that way for 2.5 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I'm in a crew.
No kidding.
There you go. There you go.
Abita Queen Bees.
Really?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
What a small world.
There's definitely some things I miss about Louisiana, but
Yeah.
overall, I think there's just a lot more for us here. Just opportunity for me and my kids and
Yeah.
things like that.
Georgia's a unique place. It's really a cool place. From climate to the world's largest airport,
Oh, yeah.
the seasons.
You got a ton of company headquarters.
A ton of
here.
company headquarters. It's just a bubble. We're really fortunate in
is.
terms of like economics for that kind
Even
of
road
stuff.
trips, like your location for road trips.
The
It's the
ocean or the
same
mountains.
distance to the
Yep.
beach. It's the same distance from here to the Panhandle
Right.
that it was in Louisiana. So I
Right.
can still go there if I want to
yeah.
do that. But then I can also go to the mountains, or I can go to the other beach over in South Carolina, or
which is wonderful.
It just it feels like you're so much more centrally located that even when it's like vacation planning time, there's a lot more options on the table.
Yeah,
you
can
know?
you imagine if you lived in Michigan going to the beach? What a logistics that is,
Yes.
and the cost.
Would
you
usually
know?
see them
Yes.
in Mexico
Oh yeah,
because they have the same spring break. They're probably there right now.
yeah, I bet.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, that's it's a great place. So you
It
think you
is, I
guys
love
are
it.
here?
I do, yeah. I can't see that we would move back to Louisiana for sure.
I think the more you stay somewhere and family comes, it sort of seats you into.
yeah.
That's what happened to us in Georgia.
Yeah.
Bill's dad, then us, and
But
his brother,
and I
and my
think it
family.
happens too because there is so much to do. So there's a ton of opportunity for jobs in different industries. I mean, Alpharetta's a little Silicon Valley.
Oh yeah.
You know, so
Right.
there's a lot, even outside of the city. I'm saying, like everybody thinks it's you got to be in Atlanta. That's not what I've seen. You know, like
Not
there's
true at all anymore.
Right.
I mean, look at like Woodstock, how it's blown up and how it's grown, and Canton. All these little town squares are coming back now.
They are.
I know, which I love.
Well,
yeah.
it's part of innovation and technology, right? It used to be like, you go to the company headquarters that most people worked at. Now it's like work from home. My cousin works for Cox. She's very high up in Cox, and she only goes in Tuesdays and Thursdays. She works from home the rest of the time because you can't on the computer and everything, you know. And so now you live where you want.
Right.
And these cities are great. Like Woodstock's amazing, you know?
I know. Or I was telling you last time that we moved to River Green and over there in Canton, and you were like, Canton downtown is like getting so cool. And I was like, yeah, it really is. And I think part of that too is, you know, our evolution as a humanity. To your point, we've lived through more technological advance in this generation. Like I was telling my kids about how when my dad went to Radio Shack and bought like the first Tandy 1000 and brought that home, and like we played this little game on it where you would just like run the stick figure into the little other stick figure that was supposed to be an ogre, and like you just count down the button until it died. And they were like, Mom, you remember that? I'm like, yeah. Like it's come a long way just in my lifetime, you know.
Right.
But then I think we're also, because of you know, FaceTime, working from home, things like that, we're also missing camaraderie as a population more than ever.
It is.
So I think we're starting to see things like people want the downtown live, that they can get out and go sit with some people. Yeah, because it's in our DNA. We, you know, like.
True.
And as much as I love the technology and innovation, and it does bring us together across distances and things like that, but it also separates.
It's not truly, you're not truly connected. You know, you're connected when we do things like this and the masterminds and when you come together, working with people. That's what I love about real estate too. We have a lot of technology that surrounds it, but it has to be this. You know, let's go look at houses. Let's do stuff together.
Right. And that's where the trust comes in with your clients, and they call you again.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, repeat business, referrals.
Yeah, I like hanging out with you. You know what you're doing.
Right.
I feel good with you. I trust you. Yeah, I connect with you. You tell my kids you lick windows, and so they like you.
That was so funny.
Yeah, it is a lot of fun to look at a house, but it's so emotional.
Yeah.
That the more fun and relaxed that we can have with people,
why
the
not?
easier.
Of course. Because at the end of the day, you're going to get it done. And it's like we talked about the worry. You know, people worry. And I think part of our job is to get them to not worry, relax.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I have one lady, various reasons, but you know, we've been looking at houses for quite a bit now, and she kind of apologized to me last time we were out. You know, I feel bad, we're seeing so many houses and haven't found one yet. I said, I'm not worried about it. I said, if you're worried about it, you're on your own. I said, I'm not worried about it. This is my job. You're gonna find something eventually. We got to find the right thing. That's what's important, you know.
And really, how tough is it? It's fun looking at houses to me.
I know. Yeah, that's part of the reason I got into it. I love houses. I love homes. I love 100%. I love what they mean to your life, what they mean to you psychologically, but then I also love interior design. I love seeing what people do with it. I love melding the function and design together. So, and I mean, you get that because you love building houses.
Absolutely.
So creating the home and for their lifestyle. That's wonderful.
Yeah, it is. Well, before I came here, I was doing a walk around with a walkthrough with a client, and it's amazing. It's like, what do you like? What do you don't like? Here's this. The tile was in, loved it. The shelves, all the columns, you know, the trim work, the cabinets. It's like just going through it. It's just fun. It's just cool stuff. And I think it's because it's very cool. It's very craftsmanship. All of it building is all relationship driven. You're working with people. You know, there's technology that surrounds it, but it's still that working with people, you know, and it's the same thing in the real estate industry. It's working with people doing something around cool things. It's all tangible. Touch it. The texture is good. It's an experience. You know, it's hard to quantify, but there's just something to that's amazing that we all want, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
And making it work in their location with their budget.
Yeah.
That can be a trick sometimes, but the harder we get, the better we get at it, the more we work at it.
Of course. And then we got the tools to do that with, you know, which is nice. So, but yeah, I think we're in a really cool industry and a cool business to, you know, to live our lives, you know? Yeah.
I always loved real estate. I grew up in it. So I knew pretty easily that's what I wanted to do.
How long have you been doing it total?
Started in 2020.
Yeah.
And then in 2008, when the market dropped, I pivoted.
Yeah.
We moved back from Louisiana in 2014. Okay. We licensed.
Yeah.
So since then, total, I guess about 17, 18 years.
Yeah.
Right. But I marketed real estate when I was in 6th grade.
Really?
With my mom.
Nice.
She was a broker.
Your mom was a broker?
Yep, 2nd generation.
How about that?
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Back then, it was so different, though, because they just had the computer printouts, no pictures.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it was
the old
very
dot
different.
matrix printers, wasn't it?
Yes. The MLS books.
They had books at some point back in the day.
Right.
Every week they come out or something like that.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I was listening to, so I don't remember that, but I was listening to a podcast about the new, I've been listening to a couple of different episodes about the new NRA settlement and just seeing what people are saying about this and that. But, one guy's point was, this is just another pivot and process change like we've done a million times before. You can fight it or you can find a way to, you know, work with it. And obviously the latter's the smart choice, but he was given the example, which I thought was funny because I'd never even heard of that before. They said it on the podcast. They were like, like when we had MLS books and every agent freaked out when we went online with MLS because they were like, now everybody's going to be able to see it. What are we going to have? How are we going to have the edge?
It's true.
Yeah. And I thought that was so insightful. I was like, wow, look at that. And it was a good example of how they thought it was going to be the end of the world.
Right.
And, life went on, you know.
Y2K.
Y2K. Oh, that's great.
I know. That's when my kids said, Mom, are you worried about the eclipse? You know, they talking about it. It may be the end of the world. I was like, it was supposed to be the end of the world in 2000. We still here. I was like, when God's ready, he's gonna take it out, and there's not a dang thing we can do about it one way or the other.
No sense in worrying about it. No sense in worrying about it at all.
I'm not gonna worry about it, But it is funny how things can seem scary, change is scary. And that's what I feel like that's one of my biggest growth points. Again, we're going back to what we were saying earlier is learning you know what, my first gut reaction, just who I am inside when I first heard about the NRA settlement is like, oh my God, this is not good. This is gonna be. And then I'm like, no, you know what? It's going to be what it is. You're going to find a way around, we'll find a way to work with it. You pivot. You find a different way of communicating things.
Susan's,
and you know what? I actually think the more I've listened to a couple of podcasts about it, I think there's actually a really good way that it's going to help us.
It could actually come out better. And I know Susan's been working. Yeah. She's been studying a lot on it.
I'm trying to look at some of the verbiage.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's going to, if nothing else, it's going to provide an opportunity for us to educate and provide clarification on things that have honestly been misunderstood this whole time anyway. The fact that commissions have never been set.
That's the biggest thing right there is I think it's just going to be now we are going to be better at our craft. I think you're going to have to go in and say, here's what's going to happen. And so you understand these things. Yeah. And so whereas, because I know a lot of agents that have always told people, I will help you get a home for free. And it's not free.
It's not free. And somebody's paying for it.
The buyer brings the money anyway.
And it's weird, right? The funny thing is that it's kind of like the selling brokerage, the listing brokerage, is the one who pays the commissions, but that all comes from the buyer.
Right.
Sure.
So it's a weird, convoluted mess to begin with. Because I always tell people. It is,
and it gets built into the price.
It all is built in, and it's all going to stay built in because people don't have the cash to pay a buyer's agent out of pocket, and they're not going to, and we're still going to have buyer's agents because people are not going to buy the biggest investment of their life without help from somebody.
Right.
No,
we don't buy.
That was one of the things
we don't
they
buy
said.
cell phones. Have you ever went in and bought your smartphone without some salesperson helping you, and they got paid a commission?
answering questions? Yeah.
Yes, I mean you're never gonna, or a car. So the biggest purchase in our entire lives, the most important one that we live in and raise our families in.
You're going to be comfortable doing without representation.
Not a chance.
Yeah.
Not a chance. So they're just gonna figure out how to refigure all this stuff, and I think it's okay because to be honest, I have always thought it's been convoluted, and I've explained it to clients, and then they'll be like, well, okay.
They don't, yeah.
They're like, do I got it? No, don't worry about it. Yeah, it's all good.
Well, and I've also got a real estate agent friend who their team thrives on the realtor leads. that they purchase. And so because these are completely cold leads that they pretty much work with all the time, they've used a part of our buyer brokerage agreement in Georgia that I never use, right? I always put 0 NA, and that's the part about like that we already have had. I think we've been ahead in Georgia.
Oh, we have.
You know,
For
because
sure.
we have the buyer brokerage agreements, we have the contracts, and we've had a place on there forever that says, you know,
what your percentage is.
This
and
is
you
my
write
percentage
it in.
minus whatever the seller may pay me. So she's been
That's
doing
what
that.
we're talking about.
She's been doing that for a long time. And
That's right.
because we could see on the MLS what we were being compensated, I've never done that. But like her reaction to this was just like, yeah, because y'all should have been doing this anyway.
It's
like,
true. No, she's right. It's 100%
she's like,
true.
y'all should have been doing this anyway. And she's like, what has happened is since I've started doing that, I'm very upfront with my people and explain to them right away that this is how I work, you know, and that chances are they will not have to pay a large portion of this, but I don't work for free. And so
exactly
I do have to cover myself on this. And she said a lot of times she's had her clients say, now this is where this will change a little bit because nobody will be able to see the compensation on the MLS. But she's had her clients tell her, no, we don't want to see that one because it's only paying 2.5% and we don't want to pay that difference, right?
That's
So they'd be like, we don't even want to see it.
Right.
They were naturally like weeding it out. And, and so,
but now you just have to call the broker.
Or you can put it on your website.
Yeah. That you can
on
put it on the website.
Page
you can. That's right.
Yeah.
Yep. You just can't put. That's right.
But look at us how we operated
not
during
even in
COVID.
private remarks, though, right? Like you can't put anything in private remarks either. Like it can't exist
not
on
on
MLS. At all.
Not, right. But on your on your KV Core, you can do squeeze pages or landing pages or you know, and I think it's okay. I mean, how it's going to all shake out, I think it's going to get better.
I think it might probably become a practice of like when you see that showing notification come through, you just fire that person a text right away saying, by the way, it pays 3%.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So showing time when you upload, like what you're saying, right?
Yeah.
That could be a quick way.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right because it messages you right
That's
then.
not the MLS.
It's not the showing time. It's not the MLS. Like, why couldn't we?
I wonder how,
owned by Zillow.
It comes through the MLS though.
But it's owned by Zillow.
Oh yeah.
Showing time.
Showing
I don't think
time,
I realized
and then and all those Super and Showing Time and all of them are all different programs but they're through the MLS or they. I guess they
link
promote
to the MLS. They have
them.
like an API.
That's a
with
better
the
way to
MLS.
say it. Yeah. So, no, I think it's going to be okay. I think, you know, it's going to. Georgia's been pretty protected, as I understand.
That's what. See, listen to a lot of the people talk about it. It makes me think that here in Georgia, we're going to have, now obviously the MLS is the biggest change for everybody across the board. The fact that we won't be able to see that, but you'll have to make a phone call now or you'll have to get a text or something. But I feel like the brunt of this whole suit came from other states where they did not even have buyer brokerage agreements.
Missouri is
and
where
like,
it started.
So we've been so far ahead of that curve already with the fact that we have disclosed to people right up front exactly how this was going to work. And
so
the only difference though is I am in a habit of I will take people to see homes before I ask them to sign that, and now apparently we really can't even show them one home without that.
And I have not ever.
But that actually,
I always make them sign a buyer's brokerage.
Oh, and see, I'm
and
lenient.
I always put 3%
before you
and
even
write
take
it in.
them. Before you take them to see one home.
100%.
See, I haven't. I've been like
100%.
lenient on that because I've been feeling like, I don't want to pressure them. You know, I don't mind taking them to see a couple things.
Because they don't know you and you don't know them.
Yeah, and then we'll talk about it or whatever. But if anything, that'll
Okay.
help me because now I'll be able to say, look, this is a requirement. Can't do it.
100%. It's a requirement. It adds to your value that this is a job, and it's almost like, to me, I've always looked at it like, I'm different though at being a builder and being in contracts. Man, if I'm going to spend time with you, you're going to sign an LOI. I may even want to see proof of funds or something, or I'm not working with you. What do you mean already? Then you're not my person. Because if you go, you know what, no problem here, I'm not wasting your time, I'm serious, that's the guy I want. The person that goes, oh, well, we don't want to sign nothing, well, let me know when you do, because you're not wanting to buy a house. If you're wanting to buy a house, what do you think about any purchase you've ever made? when I walk in, I have the means to do it. I have the intent to do it, and I'm looking to do it with somebody. The only reason I wouldn't do it with that person, and then you would have to confront that and go, man, we just don't jive. You're not my vibe. I'm going to find somebody else. But if you are their vibe, but yet they don't want to sign it, it just means they ain't ready. Just let me know when you're ready.
Hey,
I mean,
look,
this is what I do for a living.
And at that point, you can say, look, I can still send you a search. I can set you up
set
on
up
the
searches,
search.
Totally
but
cool.
let me know when you're ready to see something, and then we'll get that signed.
I do that too. I put anybody who wants a search, cool. You can look at it. Before we go look at anything, I want to know who you are. And this is part of the safety protocol, who you are. And now we have this protocol from the lawsuits. You have to have your paperwork signed and all that. I won't take people out either if they don't have either pre-approvals or proof of funds.
Right.
Because now I know they're down that road. And if they haven't got it, I go, cool.
We need to get down that road anyway before we make an offer or we can't be competitive.
Go, look, here's what I want to do. Call John. I always have them, hey, call John. And get pre-approval, get that letter, and then we can go literally. You can sign it. We got the pre-approval. We can go look.
So I'm going to ask you pre-COVID licensees, right? Because I got my license since COVID, which is a whole different ball game, right?
For sure.
So, one of the things that I feel like now, or ever since I've had my license, is frankly, it's not just me asking you for the pre-approval because I want to know you're ready as an agent and I don't want to waste my time. It's literally, if we have to make an offer and you submit an offer without a pre-approval, like you're going to be laughed out of town. Like everybody expects it ever since I've had my license.
It's an absolute waste of time.
Before COVID, was that not the case? Like you would submit approvals without a pre-approval?
I think it's always been a good practice to do it.
Submit your
always a good practice, but it wasn't as bad. I would say
it wasn't as frowned upon.
It wasn't as frowned on, but it's not even the COVID thing. It depended on what cycle you were in, because there were cycles where, if it wasn't a seller's market, you could just submit an offer and be like, oh, that looks good, and can you send, you got the pre-approval, can you send that along? I remember those days. Now it's gotten so competitive that we
don't have a chance.
There's no chance. I won't even write offers. People are like, can we just submit it? And I'm like, no, you don't have your pre-approval.
No, you got to get this done.
And you think about the buyers who think that they're going to go to the listing agent. Well, they're not going to be represented.
No,
that's right.
And there's dual agencies not allowed in Georgia.
That's right.
Right.
So they're stuck with knowing what they know and trying to make it on their own.
That's right.
See, it is permissible in Louisiana still. You just have to have consent. But you can do dual agency in Louisiana. But see, I still have an issue with dual agency. Even the best of us. Like, I'm a person with 100% integrity. I mean, I can promise you that if I ever did dual agency, it would not be my intent to not serve anyone 100%. But you can get put in a position where, to your point, it's like, this is almost impossible. I can't.
You could have a customer and a client, but
but you can't the customer's not being advised.
We wouldn't allow it as a brokerage because it's such a liability.
It is.
Because it's so easy for somebody to pop up and go, hey, she didn't represent me correctly.
That's right.
That person got a better deal, and she wasn't right. It's just not. It doesn't make sense. It's an adversarial sort of relationship. It doesn't have to be adversarial or bad, but it is in the sense of it's
almost like that avoid your situation thing. Like let's just avoid this
situational awareness,
where something could get hairy, or you could be accused of not having somebody's loyalty. 100%.
Well, like you were talking about so you can represent a customer. Like you have a listing and they come to you and they're not represented. Okay, cool. You can represent them as a customer, but you got to make it super clear.
I'm just doing your paperwork.
I'm just doing your paperwork. I am representing these people, so I am working to get them the best deal.
That's what I did in December. Yeah. And it was fun. It worked, but it was their investment. They weren't new first-time home buyers, they knew what they were doing.
So this happened, and this was funny. This was my first deal with the family with the little girl.
Yeah.
We found a house that an investor was flipping, and they loved it, and we actually rolled up on it when the investor was in the yard. So, like, we got to talk to him, all these things, and he didn't have a sign up yet. We were just like, hey, is this going to be listed? We were looking at, this was an Eagle Watch. We would see something around the corner, and then we were driving out, and it looked like this house was being flipped, and so we stopped and talked to him and everything. And turns out,
that's
and
been a good agent, though, right?
Well, and this is where sometimes newness and naivety can play in your favor, right? Because I didn't know that this wasn't like a standard thing, so I just went for it, right?
Right.
So we talking to him, and he lets us go all through and look at the house, even though certain things was still getting buttoned up, and the wife is like, this is it. This is my house. This is what I've been looking for. And
sure.
And so I said, well, do you have an agent? Is it going to be listed soon? He said, well, I have an agent who I typically list my properties with, but I hadn't engaged him yet since we still got like a week or two to wrap this up and everything. And I said, well, why don't you let me rep you as a customer? I'll keep them as my client, and I'll do the whole thing for 4%. And he said... It works for me. He said, I've done 1 million of these deals. I don't need, the coaching part of it. If you can handle the paperwork, he said, then I won't even bring my agent on. I couldn't even believe. And then I told the girl that I started with at that brokerage, and she was like, I cannot believe you just did that on your first.
Seriously, that's awesome. But you said before, like, you think about things and you get in your own way. Mm-hmm. Like you said, you're naive. You don't know. You just go and do it. That's what agents should be doing. Yes. That is a great way to do it.
Yeah. And it worked out great.
You made 4% on it, which is more than you would have.
That's right. I made 4%. He got his paperwork done. He didn't need the coaching. He's flipped 1 million houses.
Yeah. It wasn't even listed. Look at you.
It wasn't even listed.
That's
wasn't even listed. We got the deal for him, and I made a relationship with him. He turned out to be like a great guy. Like, I've met him for lunch a couple other times, and it was just totally good. So sometimes just acting on the cuff and representing people, but that
going for it.
But that is a good situation for the customer, is that person who's experienced and who doesn't need that coaching. And in that instance, I didn't feel like a conflict of interest at all, because I wasn't negotiating for him. I wasn't.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
Because otherwise they're going to get taken advantage of, the first-time home buyer. They're going to get mad, and there could be a lawsuit. You're going to get angry.
That's the thing. You got to be, and now we know lawsuits are a big deal in this business.
Now, this is a interesting point somebody made on a podcast I was listening to about the settlement, and I want your thoughts on this, because we're part of we have several veterans on our team, right? Yeah. We all kind of have a mind and a heart for our veterans.
Sure.
The last deal I closed, I had called you about, because it was my first VA loan, and you were like, no, it's good. Look out for this, that, and other, but like, it's good. And then that one went off great and got those people in the house. But they were saying that this probably is going to lead to us as buyer agents, right, using that part on the buyer brokerage form that says, I get 3% minus. VA does not allow them to pay any commissions. So there's a big question mark around VA buyers being represented. So they are not allowed to use their benefit for any.
So that's right. So what's going to happen with that is they're going to have to amend that somehow, because they are going to want veterans to have that
representation.
So they're going to want representation for their veterans, but it's going to have to be amended, because they don't want veterans paying out of pocket for repairs and commissions or anything out of their benefit of it. So they'll have to amend it somehow. They were talking about
that. They were saying that there are likely some lawmakers looking at that right now. But
so I think that affects even the conventional parts. Like, well, if you're not going to do it then, well, let's get it paid for like we do now. Part of the reason it gets paid for like it does is because of that. Because they're like, you can't have the veterans paying for it, so how do you do anybody else?
Right.
And there's fair housing and all this. There's a lot of legal that they have to overcome.
They were saying that the biggest worry, at least from this guy who was talking about this, is the fact that they've said that it should go effect in 4 months. He said, my worry is not that we can't do business this way or that we can't work this way. My worry is, can we address all these little type of things that we need to address in 4 months?
They won't, but I'm just,
yeah, we always do contract changes all,
right, and we just keep doing what we do.
Yeah.
And,
right.
When work comes and people want to move, we just keep doing what we do.
Yeah.
And it'll work out. I mean, it like you said, everything changes, it pivots.
Well, and I do think
let me ask y'all something.
Yeah.
So it's 3:15.
Oh my.
Yeah, we have
killing
been at
it.
Yeah. So let me ask you, y'all were nervous about it. What do you think now?
It was fun.
I think it's great. It is just
yeah, I saw that click off, so
It is just talking. You start to get in a zone and sort of forget
you forget
they're
all
even
the
here. Yeah,
you get into whatever. I like it because you can sort of focus on just us and talking.
And it's so much better conversating. I've tried to do videos by myself, like setting up the tripod at home and doing that, and it's so much weirder.
Work. I know it doesn't work.
This was 10 times better.
Like I took an acting class. The first thing I had to do was a monologue, and it was like rigor mortis.
Yeah, I'm telling you, that's
awful.
how. If you watch me and Bobby's thing, we laughed because we would start out and she was so robotic and you could see in the first clips I was like, what is wrong with you? And she's like, I do not know. And then the next tape, literally this happened. She goes, okay, I'm getting loosened up. And then I was like, I am here. She's like, now you're doing it. I'm like, I don't know why.
Plus, when I've tried to video myself at home, I've got it turned on where I can see myself, and then I'm like, oh, my bangs look weird. I picked myself apart. I couldn't do that here, so
it was windy outside. I figured I'd just be myself.
I had to just go with whatever. I couldn't sit there and see myself. So.
Yeah, no, it's one of those things.
You look
good. Yeah, you both look good. It's one of those things to where it's pretty cool when you got it out there and you can do the clips. Aubrey and Tim will do the clips for you, but the reels and stuff, you can just trickle out on your social media. And I would tell you too, because the algorithms and on that kind of content boost it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And also talking about just psychological perception, because it's going to be professionally done versus like something that I can sit at home.
Yeah.
People are going to be like, oh man, they must be doing good. That's just the way we think. You know what I mean? Right. Like versus if I posted that video I showed you of my sister's stepdaughter, it was so professional. You think, wow, she's killing it. She's really doing good. Versus like if it had been from her iPhone, she could have been the same thing, same everything, and you would have been like, well, she's trying.
But this also shows that Vibe invests and its agents.
We do.
True.
And this is a big monetary investment.
Yeah,
it costs a lot of money as well as the time estimate. I mean, I do these things every week.
Yeah,
and by the time I come in here, and I think hopefully we'll start doing the afternoon ones. By the time I come in here and have a drink and all, my day's done. So at least half my day is gone. But we think it's so worth it because we have tried so many things: Realtor.com for leads, KV Core for leads, and all this stuff is thousands and thousands of dollars. And so, we keep trying things.
What are we finding with the KV Core?
I canceled it. It's not good.
Good. Okay. Thank you. It wasn't working.
It was not good.
We did talk to some nice people.
I have the one little Spanish teacher lady I'm helping right now is the only thing that came of that.
Well,
but they were tough.
It sent people to us, but they're not people that were the last month. This was literally the deal this is the straw that broke the camel's back. We had 2 people. One was somebody's mom that called. She goes, she will kill me if she finds out I'm checking on houses for her.
I had the aunt, the sister of the other one, do that.
Oh, yeah. And
from Louisiana.
And the other rental. I'm just looking for rentals.
I got some rentals coming. It just wasn't.
Yeah, and so. And I called him and I said, I'm done. We're done with that. We pay thousands a month for that. Yeah. And so I'm like, no.
It wasn't fruitful.
It was not fruitful, but you have to try these things. So
you do.
The crazy thing is, and I believe in the old saying, if you keep trying the same thing and expect different results, that's insanity.
Yeah.
But it's a funny deal. we have to, in this business as a brokerage, continue to try things.
Always.
But I'm all behind spending money on this. Wouldn't you rather have a great professional clip for your social that you can reuse versus...
Right. Absolutely.
Because I was calling the leads from KV Core and just being like, oh my, like one person told me, I literally filled out one field on a Google page.
Right.
Like, I'm not even close to being ready to buy a house.
And the bad thing about leads are, I've been getting leads, listen, for 30 years. Like on the construction side, I started out with it's called Service Magic. And
I remember that.
You remember them?
Yes.
I would get a lead. I was too. I'd get a lead. And I got good leads from them initially. Because when they first came on, there wasn't all this competition and stuff. And it would be a good lead. I've got custom home builds. I mean, custom renos. I mean, big stuff. But then they started getting competitive and other people started coming in. And now it was like that. So they would capture data from people that just went. They have a way, if you just go look at a page to capture your data.
Yeah.
They would capture data and people are like, I don't even know what you're talking about. I'm not looking for, and they charge you for them. And so it got terrible.
Yeah.
And that's where it is now. So it's so
saturated.
Yeah, so saturated. And it's not truly people. They won't make them fill out a field saying this is this, and I am honestly looking for a house, and I either have a lender, I want a lender, I need a real estate. They won't do that because those people are so rare. They won't have leads to sell and generate revenue. And so I love KV Core. Realtor.com wasn't good for us. There was a couple we've done. KV Core, I love their concierge. I love their CRM. Hated their lead gen. So, I thought, let's do stuff like this. Let's do pushes. Let's do media.
I like it.
You like this?
I do. I'd rather have... Because I struggle with that. I know social media is my best form of advertisement. Yep. I pay for Cherokee Connect so that I can make posts there every time. But then my problem is I'm never happy with the content that I put together myself at the house. I feel like it looks like chinchy
or janky or whatever. Yeah.
So then I end up doing nothing, which I know I need to be doing something.
Samantha Letterhand has those good classes on social media marketing.
Right. Yeah. Do you do videos or anything?
No, I don't like the way I look.
I don't either. See, that's what I'm saying. I've tried to do it at home. I pick it apart, or I'm not happy with it. And plus, it's just me. I don't have anybody to play off of and have a conversation. So it's hard.
It's for the younger girls.
It's hard on your own.
My granddaughter, I'd be filming her. She'll be doing a fashion show, and she'll say, "Subscribe to my YouTube channel."
Oh, they grew up. But see, they grew up with that. I've got a video of my twin boys when they were 5 years old or 6 years old with my phone, because they just a different generation.
Right.
And I was doing.
They grew up with this stuff, not us.
I was revamping my tower garden. I got one of those hydroponic tower gardens. They out there videoing me. And then he'd turn the camera to himself at like 7 and be like, so you can see that she is planting herbs. And if you want to know more about this, if you like this content, click the subscribe button below. And I was like, oh my gosh, my kids have been watching too much YouTube. But it is the world they grew up in. They're like way more comfortable with all that. And we've had to teach our kids, and we have purposely. Don't look nowadays. You don't do anything. You wouldn't be happy with being on the internet, like at least not outside of your home. Like
for life.
My mother's on Facebook, so she sees us.
Well, she will.
She'll know about Mary Elise and.
Hey, sorry, Mary Elise, for the language and my
sister.
Sorry, not sorry, but just.
We didn't even really curse though. I
have a potty mouth, and I think when my kids were younger, I was probably better, but I think
I was worse early.
Maybe so.
I definitely have gotten worse the older they've gotten, though. Like, I let more things slip. Like, I feel like I'm not as on guard as I used to be.
For sure.
But it's because they're hearing it on TV and everything. I was going to
say, listen, in their little paws, they see we discussed this on the last one. This is the craziest thing. Little animals. These kids. These have phones. And I was talking about it, and I said, it sounds weird to talk about. Some people are like, oh, my God, you said. I thought, I said what is true and honest out in the world. On this phone, there's every kind of pornography that you can imagine. There is OnlyFans, which now is huge. And I heard something where they make their revenue is hundreds of billions of dollars. And I'm like, what? I've never even been to it.
I'm scared to get an account.
Well,
I feel like as soon as I log in, I'm going to be hit with pornography. No, what else is on there?
I don't know, but I know Matt Rife. I like him as a comedian. Do like him, yeah. He has an OnlyFans comedy deal. He talks about it. I'm like, man, I already go on there, but I'm kind of like you.
I'm like afraid to get it.
All I hear,
it's going to flag me and I'm going to have pop-ups.
My perception of it is it's weird. Do you know OnlyFans?
Yeah. No.
You don't know it?
No.
Okay, let me blow your mind.
Oh my gosh, y'all are laughing at me.
There are I'm going to blow your mind. You're not going to believe me right now.
Sex worker, this is where you go.
Listen, there are girls. All right, follow me, Suze. This is true.
Okay.
That make millions showing their butthole.
I think I have heard of this.
Did y'all catch her face?
I think I have heard of this.
Did you catch her face? Am I lying, Aubrey?
No.
Am I telling the truth?
No.
You know, I think maybe I hear things sometimes because I have 3 sons. I just kind of la. But maybe I did hear.
Is that not the damnedest thing you've ever? So think about this.
So they're monetizing their
their butthole. Say it out loud.
Butthole.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
It's stunning. You don't want to, but it is on their phones. So think about your kids, your little young kids. They know all about OnlyFans feet fetishes where they are making $20,000 a week.
Did you see
it is amazing how it's like,
NBC
wow.
News article about the teacher. She's like, she's, I don't know, a 9th grade English teacher or something. And she needed to supplement her crappy teacher salary. And so she got an OnlyFans. She's a good looking, 29-year-old.
It's called an Only?
OnlyFans.
OnlyFans.
And, she was... doing whatever little
shows. What was she doing?
Like shows, like stripper type
like
shows
stuff?
And this kind of stuff or whatever.
You can say it because it is literally out there.
They finally, somebody finally reported it to the school and she got fired. And this is why it made like an NBC.
Well, yeah, she should be fired. She should have just quit. But she probably makes more bank doing that.
She's not upset about it. They interviewed her
But she should have
NBC.
quit doing her job. Yeah. That's the problem. The problem I have mostly
They interviewed
with
her
this
on NBC and she was like, look, I think it's unfortunate because I think teachers should be allowed to have their own lives when they're not
maybe not striptease.
Yeah, there's
because by the way,
she was like,
the kids know it. Like you didn't realize it. I've never been. You've never been on it. But I guarantee you, your kids, if they're teenagers, they have been on it.
And
but she's like, it's fine because I've got a good following now. Like I
still see my kids all the time. It's no problem.
But like me, you
see that. Sorry, but the thing is with the pornography, funny enough, was kind of like this. There's a whole studio overhead.
Yeah.
People running.
Now you can just do it from home.
They took out the middleman. That's what OnlyFans is. They
took
the middleman out and they upload.
And it's only them.
And there's this guy.
There's husbands and wives.
Sometimes they do that. Yes.
Yeah, husbands and wives will literally
I don't have an account on there, but I've heard.
But I think about
I don't either. I'm scared to because of all the weird stuff I hear. But I want to go see it out of curiosity.
Me too. I'm curious.
But you have to think about when I got out of college and I got a job. I had a security clearance,
right?
And the background investigations, and all that,
right?
And we already had some of that as kids, with my dad's job. But it's the integrity of the human being.
Yeah.
That you're looking at.
No,
and I work with the law enforcement and the ones in the criminal investigation division that go after the crimes against kids. So I'm really more in tune with that. And I see this is self-inflicted.
Oh, for sure.
Well, most of this is consenting adults promoting themselves and making money, but it could be promoted to underage children.
Oh yeah, listen,
and I'm
gonna
but it's not just women either. Like I'll reveal because I grew up through an age when electronic music was first starting to be big. Now my husband can't stand it, so it's like my personal vice that sometimes I still listen to like electronic music.
You and Chipper Jones.
Yeah,
I remember he liked it.
Yeah,
he likes that too.
Oh yeah,
but every now and then I listen to it, and there's
that.
a DJ that I like, that he does his like mixes and mashups of songs and stuff. Well, he's apparently well endowed, and he's got his own OnlyFans.
Who is this?
Just an electronic DJ, but he's apparently very blessed in the lower region.
I gotcha.
Has his own OnlyFans. He's a good looking guy, you know. They got all the women that follow him for his music
mostly the
and
guys
stuff. But then
the gay guys though.
He converts them over to his OnlyFans, and he's apparently raking it in. I'm like, I ain't doing it. I'm tempted, but I'm like, I do not want to, you know.
His fans are mostly the women that want to see that or whatever.
Yeah, so it's not just women, is my point, who are
cashing in. I think it's everybody, because I've heard it's like regular couples will just have sex. They'll just have sex on that, and people will tune in on it, and they make
swingers, they say, like have whole communities.
Which, by the way, all of this. Listen,
it's just a whole channel for depravity.
It is, and all this is whatever. I got a couple of different things. I'm like, I don't care. Do whatever you want. Like if you're consenting adults, I don't want kids to have any part of that.
That's the part of it.
But what's stunning to me, I don't really care about that. What people do doesn't stun me anymore. What is shocking to me is how much they monetize it.
Yes, how people will pay for it.
But look, there's a sign over there that says "Movie Admit One" on the wall.
But look, if we will,
movie Admit One.
Oh, right. So, yeah, there you go.
If we will pay to watch people play video games, because what is that? Twitch started because the gaming. I literally had to pay money to watch you play a video game and talk about it while you're playing it. Now, if we'll pay for that, why wouldn't we pay to see somebody's penis or anything else? I mean, we'll literally pay for anything. That's what you learn about humanity.
That's exactly right. Anything. But I just couldn't believe that one of my buddies told me that and then verified. I said, "You're out of your mind. There's no chance." And she makes millions. Over $1 million a year.
Do all of these sessions end in buttholes?
Everybody's got their niche. I mean, you know.
Well, I don't think they all do, but it may be a common theme.
It's pretty broad. I mean, there are, to be fair, I've heard in a news story that there's some woman uploading pictures of her car. It was like some classic car of hers. And they're like, show me that bumper.
You know what?
I
didn't show my Dahlia.
I think.
Well, I'm not going on that side.
Look, years ago, I worked with a guy, and he was a little nerdy, but he was a nice guy, you know. And one day it came out at work, and everybody had a good field day with it, that he was big into and belonged to a Andy Griffith fan club, to the extent that once a year he went to like a Vegas hotel where they had this big Mayberry convention type thing. And I remember thinking, man, I was like, there is something for everybody.
Yeah.
Okay, like there is literally, and I think, to be fair, OnlyFans, I guess, is the same way, whether it's looking at an old car or a butthole or anything else. The truth is, there's somebody out there who apparently will pay for it if you're willing to sacrifice your privacy.
And that's not shocking to me. That's shocking to me is you can make over $1 million doing it.
Well, this is old now. Because we've long passed that with the OnlyFans. But years ago, that was like my epiphany when, what was the name of that family? They were one of the first families to become like in the top 10 money-making YouTubers. I can't think of their name now.
Was it like the Chrisleys or whatever?
No, it was before that.
The family with all the kids, the real Christian ones.
The Duggins or whatever.
But they were on TV. They had their own show. This was strictly YouTube. This family just decided that they were going to broadcast their whole family life. Like, and I watched it. I watched it one day.
Like the first reality TV kind of thing.
Kind of, but they were just doing it themselves. Again, no middleman, no production company needed, no nothing. They just decided they were going to put their whole life on TV, and they went by their family name. Which I can't remember right now. But anyway, I remember watching it out of curiosity one day, and I mean, she's just like shopping in like the drugstore with her kids.
It's voyeurism. People like the voyeurism of watching stuff.
For a Father's Day card or something, and I'm like, really? They don't even have any amazing content. I mean, like, I got toddlers. I could easily do this show right now. And they were like number 4 at the time. Again, this was years ago, but they were like number 4 top YouTube money makers.
Nuts.
Millions.
That's nuts. It's nuts.
You know?
That's the thing is, it's fascinating. I think it's very cool.
See, we're talking ourselves out of realty. We're going to go be YouTubers now.
I'm saying one thing I'm not doing on OnlyFans.
Yeah, I don't.
3 out of 5 kids below the age of 12 think they're going to be YouTubers when they grow up. I mean,
you know what the number one thing of his kid is? Influencer. That I saw that the other day. That's the number one thing that kids think. That's why I was saying
they think they're gonna have.
That's why I say we can talk about anything here, and I like talking about everything and seeing what people think about it, because we're deceiving ourselves or fooling ourselves if we think that the generation and the people we're serving that are especially younger don't know everything. I mean, that phone tells them stuff. Like, we sometimes won't do it because we're like, oh yeah, I'm not going to OnlyFans. You know, I do want to look. I want to see. I kind of want to see the girl. I want to see old girl and go, yeah, I guess that's worth $1 million, or no, it's not. I'm going to be honest, but I don't want to go. I don't want to go on that site. You know, is the thing, and it's like I don't want to do that, but. You
want to go on a site of someone else going on that site.
I kind of do. I want to get a buddy's phone and do it. Look at it.
My husband, see, he's 5 years older than me, but he's also probably just a little more anti-social media than me a little bit, you know.
Yeah.
So he doesn't even do TikTok. But see, the reason I got on TikTok is because my kids are 11 and 13. They're going to live their lives with TikTok. And I'm like, I need to know what's up.
You do.
One of us needs to know what's up because, you know, and I actually, it's arguably one of my more favorite platforms, honestly, because it's not as censored.
I've heard it's really great. And you can monetize it.
Chinese.
If it wasn't, they were sucking our data up for
But you know, I've started to wonder the longer I've been on it. Now, because again, we're the same on politics, so I share that concern.
Yeah.
But I'm starting to wonder if maybe our real beef isn't with that as much as it is that it's not near as censored. They don't have the control over it.
Well, I think the argument for TikTok is that they purposely don't censor it and allow all this stuff here because they censor it in China. And in China, do you know it's censored to the point where they're watching.
Well, their whole society is more censored.
Of course it is, but their kids are watching how to be math geniuses and chess geniuses and intelligent stuff, and ours are learning how to monetize your butthole.
True, but
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, think about what a degradation of our culture is. You know what I mean? And like,
there's also
who's going to pick up a gun? Like, why would I do that, man? I can video, and I look at my bank account, and I just made a bunch of money. It's like
retired.
That guy don't want to defend the country. You know, it's like So I think that's the argument.
That is the argument. But see, we don't do that even on our other platforms.
Oh no.
So my point is, in that argument, that ship's already sailed from all of our social media. But what it does allow is for you to say things about COVID, about the government, about vaccines, about everything else that you're censored from saying and even expressing a viewpoint on.
Yeah.
On these other platforms.
If everybody could be uncensored fairly, it would work.
Yeah.
All right. Well, ladies, thank y'all for joining me on the Vibe Realty
thank you
podcast.
So much.
Thank you, Adrian. Cheers to you guys.
I finished mine, but
Me too. It's just melted ice.
Mm-hmm. But yes, this was awesome.
That was great.
Thank you.
Y'all.
Thank you.